Attorney Derek Anderson says the county clerk mailed half the ballots with the incorporation question, but they're withholding the rest.
The county clerk could send out all the ballots, let people vote, and then wait for the Supreme Court to decide. But instead, she's decided to not do that. She's said that she's going to wait for the Supreme Court and not send them out.
The Supreme Court has asked for all documents by the end of this week and hopes to rule on the case before Election Day. West Hills sits between Hideout and Camas, east of the Jordanelle Reservoir. Our top national story this hour, months after Senator Cory Booker spoke for more than 25 hours on the Senate floor, a fellow Democrat carried out his own all-night speech.
Shortly before 6:30 Tuesday, Senator Jeff Merkley said he was on the Senate floor to ring the alarm bells.
President Trump is shredding our Constitution.
That was the theme of the Oregon Democrats' all-night remarks. More than 12 hours later, he said the president's interference in prosecutorial decisions
Contradicts everything our country has done in the post-Watergate era to protect against corruption of the justice system.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 133 right now. That's 0.3%. We're at 46,791. Coming up, sun in the morning, clouds in the afternoon. Today, KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
When winter's chill settles in across Utah, nothing welcomes you home like the glowing warmth of a fireplace. Croft Fireplace is Utah's trusted experts in gas, electric, and custom luxury fireplaces. Locally owned, locally trusted. Whether you want to convert your old hearth, install a new insert, or create a striking feature wall, the licensed team at Croft handles it from start to finish, bringing years of craftsmanship, quality design, and personalized service to every project. Every fireplace is built to inspire comfort, connection, and calm. A place to gather, relax, and enjoy the warmth of home with family and friends. Visit the Salt Lake or Bountiful showrooms to see your dream fireplace in person. Or let Croft Fireplace come to you. Stay cozy all season. Croft Fireplace, where warmth becomes home. Visit croftfireplace.com to learn more. Croft. Fires. Home.
How do you gain an advantage in the #1 economy in the nation? Attend the Utah Business Forward Conference, where Utah's best business minds share their knowledge about the innovation, resilience, strategy, and relationships it takes to propel your business and career to the next level. Get access to leaders in various industries, from product development and manufacturing to finance and entrepreneurship. Make plans today to attend Utah Business Forward on November 17th, 2025 at Hyatt Regency Salt Lake City. Sign up now at forward.utahbusiness.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have delays northbound I-15 from Murray into downtown, and a crash on I-215 heading north just before you get to the 201 freeway in West Valley. That's over on the right shoulder, not slowing anybody down. You also have good speeds in Parley's Canyon, but if you're westbound coming away from Park City, you'll also encounter a crash right at the summit of Parley's Canyon over on the right shoulder. Again, not slowing anybody down. There are 1,000 people homeless who remain unsheltered every night, sleeping in the streets. You can help by helping the rescue mission of Salt Lake restore lives. Visit rescuesaltlake.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny with highs in the mid-60s. There's a slight chance of showers later tonight, but it should clear up by tomorrow morning. Right now, sunny and 44 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. Holly, guess what's happening with property taxes right now in Utah?
Tell me.
Up, up, up. They're going up everywhere. We've learned that Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson, I like Shania Twain, by the way. Salt Lake County's Mayor Jenny Wilson is proposing a tax increase of almost 20%. And this morning we're learning that leaders in Davis County are looking to hike property taxes by almost 30%.
That's really a lot. It feels like a lot. So we can maybe break down some of the numbers, but we have with us KSL News Radio, Adam Small in studio. What's going on in Davis County?
So the county's looking to get this money for a few reasons. So the county controller talked with KSL.com and basically laid out, okay, we need, if we increase property taxes, it's by an exact 29.97%. So realistically, you're rounded up, call it about 30%. This would generate over $12 million extra dollars in revenue for the county. And they say they need this money for a few things, like to address inflation. They want to pay county employees more, at least certain county employees more. And then also it sounds like just the demand for county services rises. I mean, Utah's growing, and so the demand for public service rises along with that. I think that's logical to come to that conclusion. So they're saying they need that money. And the county controller went as far as to say, as if we don't get this money, we are not going to be able to meet the demand for services. And so that they're looking to do that. And if it is approved, it from what I'm reading, it would not hit, like people wouldn't actually have to pay it till towards the end of next year, because I mean they're looking to implement it for tax year 2026.
Yeah.
So it would be a little bit before you actually paid it. But how the numbers break down, the average home in Davis County is around $600,000, and so on average, you're already paying about $335 a year in property taxes. And if this is approved at that number, it would raise that by about another $100 a year. So you'd be talking $435 on average in property taxes.
How did we learn about this? Was there a public statement, or was there a public hearing?
So the county had put out some stuff on their website, and then our colleagues over at KSL.com actually caught it quickly and were able to do an interview with some of the leaders, and I've been able to reference that this morning as I've been bouncing back and forth in the Delta Center for the Jazz opening day. And so that's how we learned about it. They have a whole website up on it describing, okay, here's what we want to do, and they also have outlined what public hearings they're going to have, because nothing's set in stone. This is a proposal. You need to get public input. That's part of state laws, having that truth in taxation process we've talked about recently. So they do actually have dates set for those as well, for people to actually chime in on what they think about this.
So I'm looking at a KSL.com story, and it says, just to your public open houses, speaking about the ability to provide input, they've got 3 set for November, and then the formal truth and taxation hearing would be December 2nd. What are you seeing from residents? How are they responding to this?
Well, that's kind of the thing yet to be seen, because this is such a new thing. I mean, I can imagine there are a lot of people that are not happy about it. I mean, we live in a day and age where inflation has kind of eaten us to shreds the last few years. I mean, maybe I'm just talking personally here, but it's happening to everyone. But an extra $100 a year, I mean, if you are like on the wealthier side, and Davis County has a lot of affluent areas where people are living in really nice houses, and I'm like, an extra $100 a year may not mean that much to some, but it could potentially impact some other people that aren't in those nicer areas, don't make as much money. And I think at the end of the day, I think I think there's a little bit of fatigue in the general public about just everything in price just continues to go up, one thing after the other. But really, when these hearings happen, I think is where we're really going to start to see the sentiment of how people feel. Do they think it's a big deal or do they not?
Yeah, we actually have had a couple of texters because I think they were talking about it just before our show as well. And they're like, check your math, because they feel like their taxes would go up $100 a month, not a year.
Yeah, I think that the people in Davis County must have done their homework before they came forward with this. But $100 a month would be significant. $100 a year is still significant, but
it runs to less than $10 a month, right? But yeah, that can be a big deal. So, so what are you going to follow with this? Are you going to stay up on the public meetings, or what can people expect?
So we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, I've been assigned to another story for this afternoon, but it is something we're going to keep an eye on. Again, we're going to monitor those public meetings. I think we'll keep an eye on those. So just so people know, if you live in Davis County, just keep your ears out for this. So again, we've talked about there's 3 open houses to the public where they're going to talk about this. Then the Truth in Taxation hearing happens on December 2nd. So on November 6th, they're going to have one of these open houses at the Layton Library, November 12th at the Centerville Library, and then November 18th at the Syracuse Library. All of those start at 6 p.m. And then the main Truth in Taxation hearing, where I believe that's where commissioners will make a final decision on any proposed tax hike. That will be December 2nd, 6 p.m. That's at the Davis County Administration Building in Farmington.
And it does look as though, and I'm just reading the article here, that they haven't had a tax hike since 2016 or 17.
17.
So, right, it was 16 when they authorized it, 17 when it went into effect. Right. I mean, home values have skyrocketed in those years, so maybe they're entitled to I mean, I'm not trying to defend them too much, but I mean, things have increased. Inflation has jumped up. I look at what services the counties provide, including Salt Lake and Davis. I do want to talk about Salt Lake before we break. And you would expect that there has to be a little bit of an increase. So thank you, Adam, for joining us this morning and explaining that, and we'll follow up with you on that as well.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about Salt Lake. So Salt Lake County's mayor is proposing to increase property taxes by about 20%. That's an extra $87 a year for the average homeowner. And she says part of the reason is to increase salaries to match market rates.
Yeah, she's looking at salaries and public safety, jail, county sheriff, county attorney, or district attorney in Salt Lake County, and the fact that those services are going to continue to increase just with inflation and everything else. So Jenny Wilson's under the gun a little bit too. 20% still seems big. I mean, Adam talked about Davis County, 30%. You think about 30% hike in anything is huge.
It seems like it, yeah.
Even 20% is a lot.
So she told Midday with Maria Chelios yesterday a little bit more about her decision on that.
I mean, anytime the county needs to do this, it's not a great day. I recognize that people are feeling the pinch. However, the county historically has not imposed cost of living tax increases every year. So that inflation builds up, and that's what's happened. In 2020, we had about a double-digit tax increase then, and then we've gone without imposing an increase for 6 years. So it's a little bit of a catch-up to so that the county can pay its bills due to inflationary forces. And then at the same time, we're seeing more pressure on the courts, and that means more work for our district attorney. The state required we open up a new section of our jail, and that alone was a $10 million investment, so we're needing to pay for that as well. And then, of course, technology, it's adding up. There's more risk to governments right now. We have to make sure everybody's data is safe and that tax notices and elections are all run well, or tax collection, elections, and other vital services of the county are run well.
So it's not just Salt Lake and Davis counties. Property taxes are on the rise across the state, and we have a lot of texters passionate about this issue. We'll dive into some of the reasons why those taxes are going up when we come back.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, I had the chance to see a brand new play at Hale Center Theater, and it's the musical comedy Murders of 1940. And I'm just going to read what I wrote to Sally Dietlein right after I got out to my truck. I just had to let her know how much I enjoyed it, and I said, a black and white screwball film noir comedy complete with Nazis you have outdone yourself. This is so unique. The entire play, save only one character, is in black and white. Sally wrote back and said, yeah, I think it's the first time we've ever done, and she used this term, grayscape. It is so unique. You are going to love it. And then just down the hall, Sister Act is showing, and all kinds of wonderful performances still to come, like Frozen. We've already got our tickets for our grandkids. Go to hct.org or get your tickets at the box office. And don't forget, get your 2026 season tickets.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason this guy's on the radio. So I called him.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer in compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or low back pain, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming out.
And here's Dennis.
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. Good Feet just took that pain away, and I could do my job, and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow's gonna be. It's gonna be positive, and it's gonna be pain-free.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. Walk-ins are always welcome. Or find the location nearest you and schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Inside Sources.
Well, it looks like property taxes are going up, and people in Davis County are concerned about the fact that their county commission is indicating they want a 30% increase. Salt Lake County mayor wants a 20% increase. And Holly, some of our listeners are not too happy about what they're hearing about tax increase.
Oh my goodness, this is a passionate topic. So there are a number of texters who are saying that the numbers just are not right from the county controller, right? Just saying, look, my property taxes are not $350 a year, add a zero. Several are saying even on a fixed income, their property taxes are $2,800 a year, and so their Social Security payout hasn't gone up 20 or 30% a year. Is to their point, right?
Right.
Cities and counties and other texters say they should have been holding the tax rate, and then they wouldn't have to catch up. I think that's one of the issues, actually, is it was frozen. And then a number of texters have pointed out, and I think our next guest can talk about this, but a number have pointed out that while maybe the rate itself hasn't gone up, the county's collecting more money because home values have gone up a lot.
Quite a bit, especially over the last 10 years. And a Utah legislative audit report found that what they're calling a perfect storm has led to an increase in property taxes for homeowners as Utah continues to have a higher overall tax rate than most Republican-led states. We're joined this morning by Brigham Tomko from the Deseret News. Brigham, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And what is going on in Utah? Why are we suddenly dealing with these property taxes?
So this perfect storm has maybe three components. The first one I'll talk about is the increase in home value. So over the last decade, the taxable value of Utah homes has tripled, which means that even if the Utah legislature or even if your county commission or city council did nothing, the value of your home has increased so much that that will be reflected in property taxes. Now, the second thing, and this was often pointed out by county officials I spoke with in reporting, is inflation has increased the cost of managing a city or a county or just these municipal governments in terms of salaries, wages, and just construction costs and all across the board. And so these inflationary costs had made it harder to run a local government budget. And now the third thing, and I think this is an interesting thing that may have flown under the radar, but back in 2018, the Utah legislature, so this is a property tax legislation at the state level, which, isn't as common where you interact with the property tax, but they froze a kind of a minimum property tax that exists across the state to raise education funding, and they froze it as a way to increase funding because that rate typically adjusts. When inflation goes up, your property tax rate actually goes down so that it produces the same revenue level. But this freeze meant that even if inflation went up, that your property tax rate would stay the same and you'd have to pay more. And what the legislature has recognized after this audit was published is that that freeze may have come at the absolute worst time for Utah ratepayers because it coincided with record inflation in the state.
Wow. So one of the things that I'm curious about, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show, but you mentioned that it's one of the highest rates in Republican-led states, but there are other ways for people to get tax revenue, right, in different states. How do we compare that way?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We have around the 15th highest overall tax burden in the country when you compare that to per capita income. But when it comes to property tax, we actually have one of the lowest rates. I think it's like the fifth lowest rate in the country. And so the balance that you see different states handling differently is breaking down kind of the tax burden between income tax, sales tax, property tax. Some states are able to do an excise tax or different kinds of taxes that aren't as useful here in the state of Utah. And so you'll see a place like Texas or Florida, for example, get rid of their income tax completely, and their property taxes have gone through the roof. And so it's a balance. And here in Utah, they've tried to balance it between these three taxes of the income tax, property tax, and sales tax. But we've seen the legislature year after year incrementally decrease that income tax. And you hear, some activists and some lawmakers say that this will eventually trickle down into higher property taxes if we continue to cut down on the income tax, which largely funds education, which at the local level, they're pretty limited in what they can do to raise that kind of revenue for schools. And so typically you'll see school districts, rely entirely on property taxes.
Holly, Brigham mentioned with the legislature sort of freezing or setting tax level in 2018. What happened then? What were they attempting to do, just to make see that we don't have an increase in taxes continually? Because I remember hearing something about that the legislature was trying to take some steps back then to I don't know, minimize or freeze taxes at that level. I don't know if you remember that. Maybe Brigham can answer that better.
Well, he did answer it actually, but yeah, I mean, it was to produce a certain amount of revenue so that they could use more money for public education. Tax discussions are always interesting, I think, because it seems to me, generally speaking, that people don't want to pay taxes, and I get that, and yet the question always comes back from elected officials at any level. Well, then what services do you not want?
Right.
Do you want us to not fix the potholes? Do you want your child to not be able to ride a bus to school? Do you want, to not have these other government services that we rely on? That's sometimes the trade-off, but it always feels like anytime you talk about taxation, right, that the immediate response is don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the fellow behind the tree.
Right. And Brigham, we've talked this morning about Salt Lake and Davis County, but this is really a statewide movement, it seems like, with property taxes on the rise, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you'll hear these two arguments. One is maybe we need to shift the tax burden towards the higher income earners through an increased income tax so that it's not felt so much on that property tax level. And the other argument you'll hear is that over the last 20 years, the Utah state budget has doubled if you take into account inflation, while our population has only increased by 60%. And so it seems like either the legislature or the voters had an increased appetite for the services provided by government, and that has to be reflected in increased government revenue that they're collecting through taxes.
So, Brigham, I have a couple of questions from texters that are basically asking the same thing. Where has this money gone? So as the property values have increased and then the amount that they collect has increased, where does that money go?
And so you'll see, okay, so this is something that I learned in this reporting, and that is that property taxes in the state of Utah are based off of revenue levels and not tax rates. What that means is there's not a set tax rate for county governments or just for your local school district. It's based off of a revenue number. And so what that means is that depending on what happens with inflation, your rate can actually move up and down so that the same revenue hypothetically is produced. So what should have happened, as you see, inflation increase over the last couple of years, is that your rates went down. And that's where this rate freeze comes in from the state legislative level, where they wanted to raise this extra education funding by freezing that rate so that even if inflation increased, they would just be getting more money. Their revenue would go up. And so I think that at the state level, at least, the state just ended up with kind of a glut of funding. They actually ended up with, I think, $150 million more dollars from that property tax rate freeze than they had initially planned. So at least at the state level, that extra revenue they collected from taxpayers on property taxes has gone to education funding.
One more final quick question. Again, these are coming from texters, but there are a couple people who are asking specifically about, while income tax has gone down, sales tax has gone up. Is that, in your opinion, is that related to the decrease then in income tax trying to backfill that need?
See, I don't know if there's a direct connection in my conversation with experts because the property tax is often done at the local level. The income tax is done at the state level. But if they continue to decrease the income tax, inevitably there will be the need to backfill that with other taxes, and the tax burden will increase, whether that's in the sales tax or the property tax area. So that's the kind of the broader conversation that this fits in, is if Utahns want to continue having the same level of services, how do they want to break down that tax burden? And the argument you'll hear often from more progressive policymakers or activists is that the most regressive tax, or the one that impacts those with low income the most, is actually property tax, and the most progressive tax, or the one that impacts those with a greater income the most, is the income tax. And so they would like to see the tax burden switch in the opposite direction.
Interesting. Well, thanks, Brigham. That was Brigham Tomko from the Deseret News. And it does seem, Holly, that property tax is one of the tax things that cause people the most concern.
Yep.
I mean, people feel like, hey, I already paid for my house. Why am I paying taxes every year? And when we come back, the New York Times is reporting that President Trump is demanding the Justice Department, which he oversees, compensate him $230 million for what he claims were politically motivated probes. We'll talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, the Utah Jazz is building a new practice facility in Sandy. But Salt Lake City leaders say the move does not derail any of their downtown redevelopment plans.
I think it was, a very private decision. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but my recollection was that they were renting that facility anyway. So I think moving to a facility that they own as they expand and move into having two different teams, I think makes sense.
City Council Chair Chris Wharton says the Jazz's new Sandy practice facility simply gives them more space to grow, while Salt Lake City's Sports, Entertainment, and Culture District keeps moving forward. Sandy City's mayor says she's excited to have the Jazz practice facility joining their growing list of sports facilities. Mayor Monica Zoltansky tells KSL TV they're seeing a lot of growth, but they also want to keep their small town feel.
So maintaining the traditional neighborhoods of Sandy, but providing for a vision where our residents say this is where we want to see the new growth, and it's around our commercial centers, around transit, around transportation.
She says the new training facility is a huge win for the city and fits right into their culture. Sandy is already home to Real Salt Lake, the Utah Royals, and a training center for the Utah Mammoth. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Amazon is planning one of the biggest workplace transformations in modern history. ABC's Maggie Ruley.
The New York Times, citing leaked documents, reports Amazon expects sales to double by 2033, growth that would normally require 600,000 more workers. But the company is reportedly looking to fill those jobs with robots and automate 75% of its operations. In the near future, Amazon reportedly estimates automation could help it save more than $12 billion and shave about 30 cents off each item it ships.
Amazon is the country's second largest private employer. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 167 right now. We're at 46,757. Coming up, we've got some more clouds coming in this afternoon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Amanda, sometimes a deal is so good that they decide to extend it because they want more people to have an opportunity. That's what Bedrock Quartz is doing with their employee pricing deal.
They are extending it through the month of October, so you pay what an employee would pay, and you can get your new kitchen or your new bathroom done before the holidays.
The only limit is your imagination. They have over 100 different options for countertops, including quartz, quartzite, granite, marble. They can do bathrooms. What can't they do? They do backsplashes.
And their attention to detail is extraordinary. Andy and I went to their facility in West Jordan where they cut the marble and the quartz, and just to see how meticulous they were with cutting that stone, not to mention the installation process.
Yeah, they do 35 kitchens every day, so they're experienced, they're proficient, and they'll work with you. Whatever you want, they can take care of.
They've got showrooms all over the place in West Jordan, Layton, Murray, Park City, Sandy, Pleasant Grove, Spanish Fork, St. George, and Salt Lake City, but
you can also go to bedrockquartz.com.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Way back in 1989, I started servicing hot tubs in Park City, and I learned the hard way in the freezing winter in the mountains that hot tubs are not built for Utah's harsh climate. I then found the Arctic Spa, the most northern manufacturer of hot tubs built specifically for the northern climates. Arctic Spas use perimeter insulation similar to your house where the outside walls are insulated. This allows us to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and reduce your electric cost each month. Since then, we have sold 10,000 Arctic Spas here in Utah. We've learned that Arctic Spas last longer because they are built stronger. You can just feel the difference. Arctic Spas are easier to fix because we put access panels all the way around the spa, which makes it less expensive for you. Add this to the lower electric bills each month, and you end up with the least expensive hot tub to own over the long term. Arctic Spas, with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And back to you, Heather.
We've got several crashes around the Wasatch Front. One of them is northbound I-15, just after 2100 south in Salt Lake. It's over on the right shoulder. Another is southbound I-15 in Kaysville, actually right on the border of Kaysville and Farmington. That too is over on the right shoulder, neither of them causing delays. Then if you're coming over from Park City on westbound I-80, there's still a crash right at the summit on the right shoulder, and Bangerter Highway northbound in West Valley has a crash just before you get to the 201 freeway. From system install to fast fixes to deliver award-winning heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical, call Whipple Service Champions for the win today. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny with highs in the mid-60s. There's a slight chance of a shower later tonight, but it should clear up by tomorrow morning. Right now, sunny and 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
We're getting some news right away, just as we're hearing this, from the Department of Workforce Services. Becky Wickstrom, their public service information officer, has indicated this. Due to the federal government shutdown, payments for SNAP food stamps will not be issued in November. Workforce Services does not anticipate that SNAP payments will resume until the federal government reopens. Wow.
So, yeah, it's 100% federally funded. It helps about 86,000 Utah households. So that will really sting. And we're going to talk about that more in a little bit. But right now, we're going to President Trump saying the DOJ owes him money.
Yeah. Sources say he's seeking several hundred of millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, from the Department of Justice in terms of a settlement, what he considers a settlement for two earlier investigations launched against him by the Department of Justice. Both cases were dropped, of course, after his reelection because of a Department of Justice policy barring prosecution of a sitting president. Here's ABC's Olivia Rubin with more.
Sources telling ABC News President Trump pressuring his own Department of Justice to pay him $230 million as a settlement for two previous federal investigations into him.
They probably owe me a lot of money.
As first reported by the New York Times, those negotiations stemming from two prosecutions Trump faced. The first, a 2016 investigation surrounding potential ties Trump and his campaign had to Russia. The second, over Trump's handling of classified documents, which led to his Mar-a-Lago home being searched.
So it's, again, a really interesting discussion about, can he even do that?
Well, I mean, can and will are two different things with President Trump. I mean, he's the president, and he feels like this is something that's important to him, something that he feels like he was wronged. But the more important issue, I think, the big one is, how do you make a claim against your own department that he oversees? I mean, that's really a...
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question, and we actually have one from a texter that says, well, if he's demanding that the DOJ reimburse him $230 million for prosecution against him, does that mean that the New York DA and people like Mr. Bolton, others who are all going to be reimbursed for the prosecution after Trump goes for them? Because it seems like what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
I know. Let's hope it doesn't go that way. Here's a little bit more from Olivia Rubin on what the President Trump himself is saying about this.
Trump previously filed two administrative claims seeking damages over the Russia probe and claiming he was maliciously prosecuted in the documents probe. The president recently hinting at those complaints.
I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit?
And suggesting,
if I get money from our country, I'll do something nice with it, like give it to charity or give it to the White House while we restore the White House.
That compensation, though, is typically covered by taxpayers.
So wait, hold on. Give it to the White House. You can look at how much is it going to cost for this ballroom? $250 million. Imagine that.
Right, yeah. And he did say, I think his exact quote was, I have a lawsuit that was doing very well, and when I became president, I said, well, I'm sort of suing myself. It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So I don't know. But that was a lawsuit that was very, very strong, very powerful. Let me just say this. There is no lawsuit.
Right.
There is no lawsuit. There hasn't been a lawsuit. There may be at some point. But when you make a claim against the government, this would be on a state, local, federal level, you don't just sue them. You start with a claim. And he's filed his claim. He's filed two claims, actually. One, and I think our Olivia Rubin from ABC articulated this, but I'll do it again. One was for FBI and special counsel investigating his Russian election tampering, whether or not he was involved in that, and his connection, and that connection to his 2016 campaign. And the second one was the raid that the FBI did on his residence.
On Mar-a-Lago, yeah.
Mar-a-Lago, where they discovered classified documents. Now, I will say this about the raid at Mar-a-Lago. It did result in charges being filed. It did result in a grand jury investigation where at least 12 grand jurors decided to vote for an indictment. So it's not entirely a bad faith case. I mean, I don't know. He never got to trial. He never will, probably, because he was elected while the prosecution was moving forward, and the Department of Justice is like, hey, we don't prosecute sitting presidents. So they dropped the cases, maybe forever, probably forever. But it's not to say that they've just went after him politically. I mean, there was a grand jury indictment.
Right. Those are the claims, though, right? And with the Mar-a-Lago one, that specific complaint also accuses the Justice Department of malicious prosecution.
Right.
So it's an interesting, like, every single day there's something unprecedented and new coming from the Trump administration, and this is something new.
So when a claim is made, an administrative claim, which is what we have here, at least it's going to be, it's not a lawsuit, and the department itself, the agency for which the claim is made against, can do one of two things. They can accept it and write a check and pay something out, or they can reject it. And if they reject it, then the complainant is allowed to file a lawsuit, but you can't file a lawsuit until you start the claim. Here's the problem, that the person at the Department of Justice that will be deciding whether or not to pay the claim happens to be Trump's former criminal defense lawyer,
right?
In this case, which, I mean, the conflicts in this case, just from the legal perspective, are so astronomical that I don't know how anyone's going to overcome them. And $230 million, I don't think that his former defense attorney can say, hey, we need to settle this, let's write him a check for $230 million, without the public going through the roof. Because like you said at the outset, this is taxpayer money.
Yeah,
it's not just money set aside for lawsuits.
Again, it's another thing where Mr. Trump, I think, often pushes the boundaries of what has been done in the past. So this has never been done in the past. But yesterday we were talking about the White House renovations, and today I saw a news article in Reuters that says that the White House will ask for permission to do renovations in the White House, but they've already started demolition.
Demos well along the way.
So
you go get forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah, I think there's some of that, but there's the New York Times article that broke this story talks about a professor that says, look, you don't have to be a lawyer to see the conflicts right here on the surface. They're pretty glaring.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that I want to defend this, but he does feel like he was wrong. He does feel like these were political prosecutions, and both cases are now dismissed, which gives him the ability to say, hey, there was nothing to them.
Well, again, with all things with Mr. Trump, we'll see where this goes.
Right.
All right. So speaking of Mr. Trump, there have been some boats that have been blown up with allegedly drug traffickers on them. But Senator Rand Paul, who's a Republican, has had some very, very strong words about the government blowing up boats without due process for anyone on board. That we're going to talk about that next. And we're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. Stay with us over the break.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has been part of Utah Valley's story. Founded in 1948 by J. Melvin Duke, the Duke family has been helping yours celebrate life's biggest moments, generation after generation. Duke's is more than just a jewelry store. They're craftsmen. From repairing a treasured family heirloom to designing the custom engagement ring of your dreams, their expertise is trusted because it's been earned through decades of care, skill, and tradition. When you walk through the doors of Duke's Jewelry, you're not just a customer. You're part of the Duke's family. Because at Duke's, jewelry isn't just about sparkle. It's about legacy, memory, and love. Discover the difference of a family-owned jeweler where heritage meets craftsmanship. Duke's Jewelers, 220 South Main in Springville, or online at dukesjewelers.com. Duke's Jewelers, celebrating love, tradition, and community since 1948.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
How do you gain an advantage in the #1 economy in the nation? Attend the Utah Business Forward Conference, where Utah's best business minds share their knowledge about the innovation, resilience, strategy, and relationships it takes to propel your business and career to the next level. Get access to leaders in various industries, from product development and manufacturing to finance and entrepreneurship. Make plans today to attend Utah Business Forward on November 17th, 2025 at Hyatt Regency Salt Lake City. Sign up now at forward.utahbusiness.com.
Did you work in uranium before 1990? Then you need to know that RECA is back. You may now qualify for compensation of $100,000. We provide the best in-home care for former energy workers. CNS Cares can guide you to the resources you need to file a claim. Call CNS Cares to find out if you are eligible. Let's make sure you get all the care and support you deserve. Call 855-CNS-RECA today.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Administration continues to target fishing vessels and other types of boats in the Caribbean. Just recently, 2 people were killed in a deadly strike on a boat that administration said had ties to Colombian drug cartels. All in all, 32 people have died so far, and President Trump claims all the boats targeted were attempting to smuggle drugs into the U.S. Here's more from ABC News White House Chief Correspondent Mary Bruce.
To justify using the U.S. military to kill suspected smugglers rather than arrest them, Trump has declared that the U.S. is in a formal armed conflict and the drug cartels are unlawful combatants. But the administration has provided few details and no evidence to back up their claims that the 32 alleged traffickers killed so far were attempting to smuggle drugs. Questions about the legality of these strikes now raising serious concern from both sides of the aisle.
So it's one of the issues where Rand Paul has been pretty consistent. He's certainly libertarian leaning, if not totally libertarian. But he spoke out about this on NBC's Meet the Press. This is him responding to the question on whether he thinks these strikes are legal.
No, they go against all of our tradition. You know, when you kill someone, you should know if you're not at war, not in a declared war, you really need to know someone's name, at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all of these people have been blown up without us knowing their name, without any evidence of a crime. And for decades, if not centuries, when you stop people at sea in international waters or in your own waters, you announce that you're going to board the ship and you're looking for contraband, smuggling, or drugs. This happens every day off of Miami. But we know from Coast Guard statistics that about 25% of the time the Coast Guard boards a ship, there are no drugs. So if our policy now is to blow up every ship we suspect or accuse of drug running, that would be a bizarre world in which 25% of the people might be innocent. The other thing about these speedboats is they're 2,000 miles away from us. If they have drugs, they're probably peddling drugs to one of the islands of Trinidad or Tobago off of Venezuela. The idea that they're coming here is like, it's a huge assumption, and really shouldn't you have to present some proof? It is the difference between war and peace. In war, though, you don't ask people's name. But if they want all-out war where we kill anybody and everybody that is in the country of Venezuela or coming out, that has to have a declaration of war. It's something that is not pretty, very expensive, and I'm not in favor of declaring war on Venezuela, but the Congress should vote. The president shouldn't do this by himself.
And of course, the president is indicating, Holly, that there is a war, going on here with the drug dealers and with the cartels, and so he's justifying it based on his own definition of a war.
Right, but the president cannot declare war. Only Congress can declare war.
I understand that. Right. I'm just
right.
playing.
So one of the things that Rand Paul said, and this was he posted this on X earlier today. We don't blow off. Basically what he's saying, we don't blow up boats off Miami 25% of the time. The suspicion's wrong. We shouldn't do it off of Venezuela either. And he said we can't just kill indiscriminately. Everyone gets a trial because sometimes the system gets it wrong. Even the worst of the worst gets due process. The bottom line is that execution without process is not justice.
Yeah, and we've had, 32 people now killed in these boats, and they may very well have been drug smugglers. Let's assume that 75% of them were. It's still a bad number of people, 8 that were innocent. If you've 25% are innocent, I mean that's inexcusable. Well, and so, I guess the lawyer in me, and as a former prosecutor and as a defense attorney, the Rand Paul talks about this whole due process thing, and due process simply means, it's such an intrinsic part of our law here in the United States. Notice and a hearing, like having some basis for what you're doing. You can't. You look at what we go through here in Utah, and people are offended by the amount of due process that people on death row get before they're executed. They get 40 years of due process, and people are like, hey, that's way too much. I completely understand that. But there's got to be a compromise between 40 years and 40 seconds when we're blowing up boats in the waters saying, well, we think that you're a drug smuggler, and so we're going to summarily execute you.
And again, so Rand Paul, again, has been, he's rattled the administration, and he and one other, well, he wasn't invited to the White House, let's just say that. So they were trying to have a meeting to talk about this government shutdown, and he was explicitly excluded from that invitation to have a conversation. He's talking about two things, and this is something completely separate from the boats, but he's also saying, look, we cannot just keep spinning ourselves into oblivion, right? And he said several times he will stand with President Trump when he has good ideas and good policies, and he will speak out when the president is overreaching. And in this case with the boats, back to the boats, he thinks there's overreach here. We don't have evidence, he's saying, that these people are actually running drugs.
Yeah, and I think that the administration must feel, Holly, that there's going to be some tremendous deterrence effect to this, that if you're even thinking about running drugs from Colombia or some country into the United States, knowing that this is happening is going to put a huge deterrence in that. I mean, that doesn't justify it at all. But I'm just thinking, on behalf of the administration, thinking, hey, we're going to set an example. We're going to let drug runners know that don't be coming near our country. Even though if Rand Paul's correct, they didn't get within 2,000 miles. I mean, that's
right.
We don't even know that they were coming here.
Right. So one of the things also that has been in the news is the rift now between Mr. Trump and the president of of Colombia, and one of the reasons is because the president of Colombia said to President Trump, "You killed innocent fishermen." Like, these were not drug runners. They had their motor up in a sign of distress. The boat wasn't running, right? They have family members who are like, this is literally, he went out to get his catch for the day and wasn't able to come back. And then that's where we got some backlash from President Trump calling the president of Colombia a drug runner, basically.
Right. He would defend those people. And I that's where we missed out on the whole due process thing. Like, who were these people? What were they doing? Was there anything that justified what happened here besides the boat traveling in a direction that's troublesome in waters that are known for drug smuggling? You know what I mean?
Yes, and we're not privy to inside information, but to Rand Paul's point, right, they're saying, look, there has to be some kind of due process. And typically before, what has happened, if you suspect that they're running drugs, then the U.S. can board the boat, right, and they can do search, and they can make sure that there is a process here that is follows what we consider, I think, the normal conventions of the rule of law.
I don't see this changing. I should say I don't see this stopping because it seems like Pete Hegseth is very much on board with this. He's doing what Trump is asking him to do, and I would submit that there's a significant number of members of our public who think, you know, the end justifies the means.
Again, I think you have to be careful when you go down that road, and remember that once you start down something like this, when the shoe's on the other foot, do you want to see something like that happening to your side? You know, and I think the answer is no. We don't want that.
Yeah, and I think it'd be in the best interest of the victims and their families to tell us who they are, to have somebody come forward and say, hey, this was my uncle or this was my brother.
They have
he
had
was
that.
Fishing, and have people
they have
come
had
forward
that.
And say,
yeah,
this was nothing but a murder. On the other hand, we know that there's a significant amount of drugs that are being transported through that pipeline, and some interdiction is appropriate, but that's probably way over the top.
Well, again, it's an ongoing conversation, I'm sure, because they keep happening. These strikes keep happening, and there were a couple of survivors, I think, last week. But two. Instead of bringing them to the United States to face the U.S. criminal system, they just repatriated them back to their country of origin.
Yeah, so we'll never know exactly what they were doing and who they are or what they were about, because that even that level of due process wasn't done. They were simply just sent back. Anyway, we talked earlier, we had a breaking press release about SNAP customers who will not receive benefits in November due to government shutdown. We're going to learn more about that after the break, but what we're hearing is that starting in November, SNAP, which we've colloquially known as food stamps, will not be provided to recipients starting in November. It could go later than that, depending on how long the government shutdown goes. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour. We just got word about a half hour ago from the state that SNAP benefits will be paused in November because of the government shutdown. We will have a live interview in a few minutes on Inside Sources with more information. We have an update on the bicyclist hit by a car in the downtown area on Monday. Salt Lake City police say he has since died. He was riding his bike near 300 West and 500 South when it happened. Officers say the driver of the car remained on scene and is cooperating with the investigation. Our top national story now from ABC News. Amazon is planning a major transformation of its workforce with a big focus on robots and AI.
The New York Times, citing leaked documents, reports Amazon expects sales to double by 2033, growth that would normally require 600,000 more workers. But the company is reportedly looking to fill those jobs with robots and automate 75% of its operations. In the near future, Amazon reportedly estimates automation could help it save more than $12 billion and shave about 30 cents off each item it ships.
Tech researchers say many jobs today could be replaced by AI in the future. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 116 at this hour. That's 0.25%. We're at 46,798. Coming up, a few showers possible tonight. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
Calling all Jazz fans. If you can't wait another second to see stars like Ace Bailey, Lowry Markkanen, and Walker Kessler tear up the court, you're in luck. Tickets are on sale now. Let's go! No matter what you're looking for, the Utah Jazz has your back. With season tickets, mini plans, and single game options available, there's something for everyone. Whatever your schedule or budget, there's a plan for every fan. Don't miss a moment of the action this season. Secure your tickets today at utahjazz.com.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Makita's built for the pros who show up early, who don't do shortcuts, only precise cuts. With tools built to last, job after job, year after year. Performance that pays off, because when the job calls for the best, you answer. And when you need the best, you call on Makita. Built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
I'm Jenny Oaks Baker, and I invite you to Joy to the World.
It was sacred, exquisitely beautiful, and Jenny's talent on the violin is unmatched.
Featuring choirs, dancers, and My Children musical group, Family 4. Plus world-renowned mezzo-soprano Angela Brower and celebrated baritone and narrator Preston Yates.
It was just like emotionally stirring. The dancers, the singers, Jenny and her family, just bringing to life the beautiful music.
Experience a Christ-centered Christmas as we proudly support Light the World.
It's so beautiful to see how they use all of their talents to just testify of the Savior.
Get your tickets for Joy to the World, a sacred celebration at jennyoaksbaker.com.
Traffic Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we've got good speeds all across the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15, the east-west side belt routes or 201 freeway, but we still have a few crashes around. One of them is northbound I-15 near downtown Salt Lake, just after 2100 south on the right shoulder. Another one is in Parley's Canyon. This is westbound I-80 right at the summit, also on the right shoulder. And Bangerter Highway is cleaning up a crash. That's heading northbound right before you get to the 201 freeway, also on the right shoulder. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Salt Lake should see a high today of 63 degrees. There are some storms in southern Utah that could be spreading north tonight. We should stay in the low to mid-60s through Friday, warmer on Saturday. Right now, it's sunny and 48 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We are now in day 22, starting week 4 of the government shutdown, and we're learning more and more about things that are being affected by that. Today, we're learning that because of the shutdown, payments for SNAP will not be issued in November. Workforce Services does not anticipate that SNAP payments will resume until the federal government reopens. So tell us about what SNAP benefits are.
So SNAP is an assistance program for people who do need help with food. It helps about 86,000 Utah households every month. It's 100% funded by the federal government, so this is going to really sting. We have on the line with us Becky Wickstrom. She's the Public Information Officer for the Department of Workforce Services. Thank you for joining us this morning, Becky, with this breaking news.
Yes, good morning.
Can you tell us just a little bit about what the impact is really going to be on families in Utah?
Right. Well, this SNAP, like you said, is 100% federally funded. And because of the shutdown, we've learned that there will be no SNAP payments in the month of November. Another possibility that we're learning is that if the shutdown's not resolved by November 1st, all SNAP services may be interrupted. So that means even if you have a balance on your card from a prior month, your card may not work after November 1st. We want customers to know that this is a possibility, to know what to expect so that they can make additional arrangements to help feed their family.
So we'd been hearing, Becky, from other sources that some of the federal funding may be compensated in other areas. For example, the military may still be funded. We're learning, and apparently what you're learning is that SNAP's not going to be one of those that's going to have an alternate source of funding.
Yeah, that's right. We learned this from USDA that we won't have funds for the month of November, and we won't know more until the government reopens.
Wow. If you're a family or have family members who are receiving SNAP benefits, what are you recommending right now? So we've got, we're the 22nd. You've got maybe 8 days until you get to November 1st.
Right.
That's next week. Yeah, next Saturday. What are you telling them how to prepare and how to be ready?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to live in an area where there are community resources available. Customers can hopefully tap into those. You can call 211 or go to 211utah.org and find local food pantries, meal sites, and other resources. So we're hoping that by knowing this information, customers can make arrangements and, have some other resources to rely on in November.
Is there a chance, Becky, that the state could stand up to the plate? I don't know if that's even appropriate, but they're certainly filling in on other areas when the federal government is being shut down. Are there other sources of revenue that would come from something other than the federal government?
Yeah, I mean, that decision is being made at a legislative level, and so we're keeping our legislators informed of what's happening so that they can make those decisions for our state. But at this point, there's no plans to use state funds for SNAP.
So Becky, I'm wondering if the shutdown goes to, say, November 5th, how long do you anticipate it could take before things are up and running again?
That's a really good question that we don't have an answer to at this point. We would hope that things can be resolved as quickly as possible so that we can get benefits back online for people. I can tell you that we are still accepting applications and just not submitting them to the federal government, but we'll try to keep things moving on our side so that when the government reopens, we can get people benefits as quickly as possible.
And Becky, we're reading that this affects something like 86,000 Utah families. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the number of households in Utah. That breaks down to about 177,000 individuals in our state.
So 86,000 households,
Yes,
about twice that number of individuals affected by it.
that's right.
Wow.
So you've mentioned that we do have resources in Utah. How can people who are receiving SNAP benefits, if they don't already know, how can they get more information about what's available?
Absolutely. Visit our website. We'll have updates as much as we know about what's happening with SNAP, but also using 211, like I mentioned. Also, Utahns Against Hunger at UAH.org has a great list of emergency food resources that people can take advantage of.
We're looking at the press release that was just issued today, Becky. Is that because this is information that you all received this morning from the federal government?
This has sort of been, since things are in flux at the federal level, this has sort of been coming down the line. And, we wanted to make sure customers had some advance notice so that they know this is coming and, like I said, make other arrangements for the month of November.
Wow. Thank you for joining us today. We've been speaking with Becky Wickstrom, the PIO for the Department of Workforce Services, finding out that SNAP payments will not be there in November.
That's another thing that you would expect members of the Senate would be conscious of. Health insurance being cut off, SNAP benefits being cut off. Their constituents are going to be really upset here sooner rather than later when the government's, and I'm not pointing fingers at either party, I'm pointing fingers at both. We need to get the government funded. We need to get people back getting the benefits that they're entitled to. And even if it's just a continuing resolution until November, I'm preaching to the choir here, but we can't let this kind of thing happen. The far-reaching consequences of the government shutdown we don't appreciate until you get something like this. SNAP benefits cut off November 1st. That's 9 days away.
There was some additional comments made yesterday also talking about the government shutdown, about Medicare and Medicaid potentially not paying out in November as well, right? That those are government-funded programs and that those payments may be shut down also when we're coming, if this shutdown continues. And, we talked to Representative Celeste Malloy yesterday, and she pointed out to us that it was already the longest full shutdown that the government has had, that there have been, now at this point, there's one additional shutdown, but it was a partial shutdown. So some things were paid and some were not. And that was 35 days, and we're at day 22 at this point.
Right. So we're already at the second longest shutdown in history.
If you include the partial ones, and we're already the longest for a full shutdown because we're in a full shutdown right now.
And we had been talking to the food bank and our resources there. They're already stretched thin with government employees who are not receiving benefits or not receiving pay. Go get the food that you need. Now we're going to have an additional group of people, 86,000 households, not receiving SNAP benefits in a week. Who are going to need resources from something.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to just put a plug in for people to donate to their local food pantry, food banks, right? And it's everything from, we know that the airport workers right now, that they are asking even for gas cards for people to be able to come to and from work, even though they're not getting paid. But to be able to donate food, diapers, gas cards, etc., because there are people who are going to feel this more than others.
And at 11:35 this morning, we're going to be checking in on the WIC program in Utah to see what their funding looks like going forward. So again, more and more consequences of the government shutdown that we're feeling close to home here.
So, it's sometimes you think politics doesn't affect you, but I think that what we're seeing lately is we should really take to heart that all politics is local, meaning it doesn't matter if it even comes from the federal government. It can impact our lives and in ways that we did not anticipate. Maybe.
And we're hearing more and more about that every day.
All right. This is a little bit of a pivot. There's a new slang term that your kids might be saying. It's this 6-7. No one really knows what it means, by the way, but we'll help you understand where it came from when we come back. We're coming up streaming live on KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Cooler weather. What a relief, unless you have old drafty windows. Soon the heat will escape through the cracks and your energy bill's going to go through the roof. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products and get brand new state-of-the-art custom windows and frames at factory direct pricing. The factory is right here in Salt Lake City, where they've been building precision windows since 1986, and you're going to save a lot of money since there's no middleman markup. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows. Even better, call now and they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Double pane argon-filled windows with a low-energy triple coating, any style, any color, and Advanced Windows gives you a lifetime warranty. If you have an issue, they're not 10 states away. They're right here in town, and they offer 0% 60-month financing. So make the call now. Get $2,500 off. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
We're joined in studio by Stern Team's Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team of Amada Real Estate. Russell, everyone's talking about interest rates perhaps dropping. What does that really mean for buyers?
Yeah, so it's always a good thing, right? When we see rates come down, it does mean that your payment would be a little bit less. A couple of things, though. The first one is the rates that are coming out are typically anywhere from a quarter point or a half point, better, and then the market adjusts and things like that. And so if you're thinking it's going to cut your payment in half, it doesn't make that big of a difference. It's an improvement, but not drastic.
But even a 0.5% over the course of a 15 or 30-year mortgage can make a difference.
It absolutely. But the one thing that I would say is a lot of people are waiting for that interest rate to actually drop before they're making a move. And what we see is once that actually happens, you'll save money if you're ready to pull the trigger right there on timing. But what we see is the prices quickly adjust because people mainly buy on payment. And so prices end up going up. And so the payment actually ends up being about the same, and they missed out on the equity gain by waiting for it.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. With I think a previous time you told us that there are right now options for people to buy down interest rates or something like that. Is that kind of what you're meaning with this moving right now instead of waiting?
Yeah. Well, again, so people I think are waiting. It's like, it's going to be drastically more affordable if I wait. But understand if it comes down about a 0.5 point, you're looking on the average loan amount only about a savings of about $150. And so you can probably go in and negotiate while sellers are still motivated, because once it drops down and competition goes up, sellers are going to be less likely to negotiate with you on that purchase price.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
If you're a parent of young kids, you may have heard that there's a new slang term they're using now. It's just that 6'7".
Well,
and
wait. It's not just the number. You have to do it sing song. 6'7".
Oh,
there's a cadence
there's a method
to it.
Okay, 6'7". What does it mean?
It means nothing. I don't know.
Okay.
So there's a TikToker, Mr. Lindsay, who's a teacher. He had a pretty good explanation about what it means and where it comes from.
6'7". What does it mean and why are kids saying it? Mr. Lindsay back to define another word that your kids are using. Now, there is a song by Skrilla named Doot Doot. In the song, there's a reference to the number 6'7". It goes da 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 6'7". Now, this number was then popularized by different creators, primarily creating basketball sports edits and using that song over the edits. Now, most predominantly, LaMelo Ball was a part of the edits and referred to him as a basketball player that moves like he's 6'2", but is actually 6'7". Now this meme goes viral. Now everybody's making edits, everybody's saying 6'7", and all of these content creators are starting to put 6'7" into all of their things, and not just content creators, but actual basketball players in press conferences and things like that are saying 6'7", and so it just continues to become a thing, and now it is something that you're just trying to use to get somebody to reference the number 6'7", like how tall are you? 6'7". What time is it? 6'7". What's that? 6'7". There's literally no circumstance where a kid might not say 6'7". So all of this to say 6'7" is just a reference to a meme. There is no real meaning to it. It is a number that is fun to say, popularized by a meme with the hand motions, and it just doesn't mean anything. So that's what 6'7" means.
That was a minute and a half of I have no idea. I know less about 6'7" than I did before he started, but at least he's articulate.
So there's a Washington Post article, and it starts like this: why kids keep saying 6'7". It's really beautiful because it's dumb. That's what they say. So let me tell you, it was so funny yesterday. So I was going in for a medical screening test, and they said to me, "Oh, your medical number is 123455." And I said, "Oh, well, it should have been 6'7". And the girl whipped her head around and was like, "What? Like, you know that?" Yeah, because I'm old, right? This is for Gen Alpha. And the older guy, who was not that old, but maybe in his 40s, early 40s, is like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." It's kind of the point.
and I'll admit that until 4 hours ago, I'd never heard of 6'7" as a slang. It never even occurred to me. I'd never heard it. So I'm not familiar with it. I guess I've been asleep at the wheel.
There are hand gestures that go with it too. So you have to do the sing-song cadence, but you also have, it looks like they're catching, the Washington Post says, like you're comparing grapefruits in your hand. 6'7", right? So it's just funny. So you know that I have a daughter that we're raising. She's 11. She does it all the time. That's how I know it, right? And I'm like, what does that mean? I've asked my other kids who are not Gen Alpha. So Gen Alpha is these younger kids. I've asked my other kids who are in their 20s and 30s, and they keep rolling their eyes and say, "Mom, it doesn't mean anything." And they're right. It does not mean anything.
And what context does she use it, or does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It's anything. So it's any opportunity. It's any opportunity, like he said, like the TikToker said. Can you talk about sports? How tall are you? 6'7", right? Is there anything come out in a number, in a joke, right? Can you continue a string of numbers so that you can do the 6'7" meme?
It's fun. I mean, I think it's fun.
It's fun because it's dumb.
Yeah, text us at 57500 with your 6'7" story, and I'm hoping that at the end of the program today, 6'7" is not part of my vocabulary.
It's so funny. So there's some things in the Washington Post for different generations. So if you're a boomer, it might sound like a wolf whistle. Or if you're Gen X, it might sound like Rob Schneider saying "making copies" on SNL. If you're a millennial, it might sound like Linda on Bob's Burgers saying, "All right, But if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha, you already know how it sounds.
I don't even recall those other ones. I must have slept through those as well. But there are things that you hear on the media that you sort of catch you, and that's sort of the phrase of the day.
Well, and it became a meme because it's dumb, right? And so there are high schoolers that the Washington Post asked, like, how many times a day do you hear this? And one 15-year-old's like, I swear I hear it 80 times a day.
Yeah.
80 times a day. and then they said, look, it's going to die out soon. Speaking of trends that come and go and die out, I had my 21-year-old when she was like maybe in 7th grade. That was the year where they were doing fidget spinners and water bottle flips. And there was something else. I can't remember the third trend. And they all died out by the end of the year. But the water bottle flipping, right, where you're trying to flip it and see if you can get it to land, exactly. And some of the things are just like so dumb. So we do have a texter.
Uh-oh.
And no, this is funny because I've heard this too. Why does 6 hate 7?
7.
Because 7, 8, 9.
8, 9. Yeah, I remember. Okay,
right,
that's
that
a good
joke.
one. That's a good one.
Right, but just stuff like that, right? It's just so funny. So now with my 11-year-old, I look for opportunities to tease her about it, right? It'll be like, what time do you want to have dinner? 6, 7, right? Or how many different designs do you want on your Halloween pumpkin? 6, 7, right? So anyway, it's funny and dumb.
Okay, so Thanksgiving, I'm going to see grandkids, and I'm going to write 6, 7 down and see if anybody picks up on it. When Grandpa, Goofy Grandpa, my name to those kids, it gets up there and says 6, 7, we'll see how that shakes
Look,
out.
Here's another a texter who says, my 10-year-old son and his friend are dressing up as 6, 7. One will be 6 and the other 7.
Now that's genius. You
That's
got to
so
hand it to
smart.
somebody like that. Yeah, dress up as a 6.
Oh my gosh.
And have your buddy dress up as a 7 and hang out together.
Oh my gosh. So somebody else texted in and sent a picture too that said, my sister-in-law teaches U.S. history at Shoreline Junior High, and their U.S. history teacher brought these shirts to wear, and it's showing a picture of George Washington holding a 7 and a 6.
Yeah. There is someone who's said parents need to understand the importance of these slang terms because they actually might mean something that it doesn't. And
For sure.
That was the first thing I thought when you said 6, 7.
That there's
I thought,
something bad.
That must mean something like, I don't know, the gang monikers have their own slang.
I told you that I didn't know what AF meant. I thought it was American fort. It's not.
Oh.
Right.
It's American fort.
Yeah, sure. So it's those types of things. You do need to be careful, but in this case, it appears to not be anything inappropriate. It's just something that caught on, and I'm sure, like people are saying, I'm sure it'll fade quickly because it's really just dumb without a point. But
well, you need to keep me up on these because you've got a young child.
I know,
in your
it keeps
house.
me young.
I don't, right? And
Oh,
so
my gosh.
I missed out on all this. My wife and I do not. Until tonight, we've not had a 6, 7 conversation, but I'm going to try it and see what she says, and she'll probably hit me in the side of the head.
Oh, it's so funny. So there's look, this is a guy, they're like capitalizing on this trend. So there's a 17-year-old point guard who plays in the, quote, Overtime Elite Basketball League. I'm not familiar with that. But he started working 6, 7 into a bunch of his social media videos, and now he sells his own line of Mr. 67 merch, and he's created his own brand of 67 canned water. He's 17 years old. That's how you capitalize on a meme.
And I'll bet there's probably an additional 200 basketball players who are 6'5", 6'6",
I know.
6'8",
Hey,
6'9",
I'm
who are
6'7".
going, I'm 6'7". Yeah.
So, anyway, so it's funny cultural stories, and if you hear your kids or your grandkids and they're laughing and they're saying 6, 7, now you know that they're talking about a meme that doesn't really mean anything.
And we probably won't even be talking about it a week or
Next
two
year.
from now. Yeah, we'll get
maybe
on to
in a week or
something
two.
else.
Maybe not next year.
Well, one thing you talk about a lot on this show that I've learned in the 6 months we've been together is that it's never too soon to talk about the holidays and looking for great deals, but consumers are getting discount fatigue as companies offer deep discounts all the time. We'll talk about that when we come back. And it is still, Holly, too early to talk about the holidays.
No, it's not.
It's not
No,
even.
it's not.
Not
Nope,
even
not too
Halloween.
early.
Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: the SNAP benefits program that helps low-income families buy food is about to run out of money because of the government shutdown. Utah Department of Workforce Services spokesperson Becky Wickstrom tells Inside Sources that means they'll have to pause the program when we reach the end of the month.
Even if you have a balance on your card from a prior month, your card may not work after November 1st.
Wickstrom suggests people who need these benefits call 211 to get information on food pantries and other resources available. People can also check the 211 website to look at resources listed by each city. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Russia continues to launch missile strikes into Ukraine, and a planned summit in Hungary between President Trump and Vladimir Putin has been canceled. ABC's Patrick Reevell reports Russia's foreign minister made it clear Russia rejects President Trump's call to freeze the fighting in Ukraine along the front lines.
The question now being asked is, was President Trump effectively tricked by Vladimir Putin into not sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, instead agreeing to a summit that hasn't materialized, and we're basically back at square one once again?
President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska back in August, where a peace deal was discussed but not reached. Your money at this moment. Let's see what the markets are doing. The Dow is down 180. That's about 0.4%. We're currently at 46,744. S&P is down 36. The Nasdaq is off 246. Coming up, we could see a few rain showers tonight. KSL weather is coming up next. KSL News Time, 10:31. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
And we're back with the Stern Team's Russell Fawcett, owner of Stern Team of Omada Real Estate. Russell, what do you see happening in the Utah real estate market right now that some people might be surprised to learn?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I guess shocked people is when we look at data is that our year-over-year median sales prices actually went up. And so people are kind of like, oh, the market's bad right now, sales aren't happening. And neighborhood by neighborhood, there are places that have definitely seen prices go down. But as a collective whole, our prices are still rising, and that does shock a lot of people.
Yeah, I would say wow and maybe ouch. But so how can buyers then use today's market to their advantage?
Yeah, so the biggest thing right now is with, affordability being a little bit tough for people, they can still go in and negotiate. So again, in a seller's market, the buyers lose a lot of the power to negotiate repairs, negotiate the buy downs and things like that. And so the buyers have the advantage right now to be able to go in and still minimize the amount of out-of-pocket expense because they can have a seller pay for their closing costs. And again, they can work with the sellers hopefully to get that interest rate down too.
Are there a lot of homes on the market right now, or is it a buyer's market?
So we're sitting kind of on the edge of a buyer's market. And so what we're seeing, depending on the county, is about 4 to 6 months supply. And that is what we consider a level market. But there are places that we're creeping into the 7-month supply. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is we watch this week over week, and last week's inventory actually dropped. And so that's the first time that we've seen inventory drop in about a year. And so it is one of those that we're definitely not having a rush of homes hit the market.
So related question, isn't this typically the time of year where home sales slow down, people are looking at the holidays and not trying to move right now?
Absolutely. Fourth quarter and first quarter are the slowest times for home sales. And we do see a lot of people start pulling their homes off the market during the holiday season and waiting till spring to relist.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age. making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, it looks like almost all of our accidents have cleared. The only one we're still looking at is I-80 westbound coming out of Park City. It's right at the summit of Parley's Canyon over on the right shoulder, so it's out of traffic, not affecting anybody going through there. You're going to have good speeds on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties in both directions, and no delays right now getting out of Tooele County on SR36, I-80, or Mid-Valley Highway. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have a high of 63 degrees today in Salt Lake with a slight chance for some rain tonight. Dry tomorrow and Friday before a southerly wind blows in another storm over the weekend. Right now, it's 50 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
All right, let's talk about the holidays. And specific.
You're forcing me down.
I know, but look, it is holiday season, and there's at least one radio station in Utah already playing Christmas music. If you have been in the stores at all, you've still got a little bit of Halloween because that's a week, just over a week away. But it is really starting to be Christmas everywhere. But part of Christmas, to me, at least it used to be part of our family tradition, is that we would do Black Friday shopping at the ridiculous early morning hours, sometimes at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I'd stand outside in the cold. It was so dumb.
Right? But I mean, I can understand the tradition part of that.
Yeah.
The shopping part of it, you're right.
But it was, but still, I mean, there wasn't online shopping, and so we would go stand outside, we'd get the good deals, you'd have the Black Friday shopping, and remember Black Friday, as I understand it, was coined by marketers really because that was the point in the year where they could start to come out of the red and into the black as you headed into the holiday season.
Oh, that's where it came from. Yeah.
But things have changed, and now you see Black Friday deals will start earlier and earlier every year. You have Cyber Monday, which is supposed to be the Monday after Thanksgiving, but you have online deals all the time. You've got Amazon Prime that does Prime Day deals all the time. And so what we're seeing is that people are feeling discount burnout. CNBC reports it's less exciting. The deals aren't as good. And I want to know from our listeners if you have noticed that you're just kind of meh about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Are you desensitized to like one big shopping day? Let us know.
I think that it would affect people in that we're not going to the store anymore. We're not going to the brick and mortar. I still do because I'm old school. But a lot of people could do all of their Christmas shopping in their pajamas.
At home where it's warm.
Right, yeah. Sit down with a cup of coffee and do your Christmas shopping one day. I like to go to the store. I like to see the people, the designs, the music. I like to get in the mood.
Sure.
I still do that.
And I don't love the crowds on at least what it used to be like on
I've never done a Black
Friday.
Right.
So again, I said we used to do it as a family tradition. Not my husband. He hates shopping, and he especially hates shopping with crowds. But I would take some of the kids, and then we would divvy up. So one would go stand in line because the lines got really long really fast, and so then we would just come back and put stuff in the cart. But one year, one of my daughters who wasn't very tall, she was trying to get DVD out of the cheap bin at Walmart, and somebody was like grabbing her hair, pulling her away from it. It's like that's not cool.
Oh,
that's
no,
not a fun tradition.
So why do you suppose that consumers are becoming a little more desensitized to this? I mean, why? Because it's just been going on for so long. I mean, the excitement's still there. It's still the day after Thanksgiving.
But the deals aren't as good. They're not as unique. And some people are just saying, look, do I want to go wait in line to save $20, right, when the same deal is going to come back around? Or what you see happens is it feels like this. Maybe it's not actually true. that the regular price is raised right before Thanksgiving, so then they can drop it and say, hey, now you can have a discount. It's like, well, if I had bought it last week, it would have been the same price as the discount.
And I don't want to put another cloud on it, but you have to imagine, given the number of products that we buy from China and other overseas marketers, with tariffs and whatnot, we're not going to see the prices and the discounts. In fact, we may see the opposite, because as tariffs kick in, it's sort of prospective. It's items that are still coming into the country. We're going to see a raise in prices.
Yeah, and remember, we've had discussions basically all summer on this tariff issue about people saying, okay, well, maybe your Christmas trees are going to be impacted. So if you remember the year of the pandemic, people could not get Christmas trees. Like, they literally sold out. And so the Christmas trees have been available for sale since at least the beginning of September. We do have one texter that totally agrees with us, by the way, and says, because there's so many quote unquote discounts, the prices never feel like they're actually any different, and I can do the shopping anytime from a computer or a phone.
Yeah, right. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't. I know, but your wife does.
Yeah, that's true. She does. We get an Amazon Bucks probably 3 days a week.
I know.
House, and none of them have my name on them.
That's so funny. Did I tell you the story about my daughter meeting the Amazon delivery guy and saying, so who are you here for? And he said, Holly Richardson. And he goes, she said, this is the right address. And he goes, oh, I know. Because he'd been there so often. So some of the reasons, this is the CNBC article about this discount burnout, is some people are saying they're just, it's the constant stream of promotions, but now they're changing some of their buying patterns and deciding to buy something not so much based on price, but prioritizing value and quality, right? So you can save a little bit of money, but maybe for not a lot more, you can get something of higher quality or higher value.
Do you buy 25 Christmas presents every year?
I buy way more than that.
For your children? I mean,
I have children and in-laws and grandchildren, so we're up to about 35-ish, maybe
like
more.
2 for my wife, and she takes care of everything else.
Okay, a couple more. Black Friday was so much fun for me and my family and quite an adventure. It used to be. So I used to do a lot of sewing, and Joann Fabrics, which has now gone bankrupt and is out of business, used to do a Black Friday deal on their flannel. And so if you're like making baby blankets or whatever, it was a really good deal. You could get it for $1 a yard. So me and a bunch of other ladies would stand outside at 4 o'clock in the morning waiting for the store to open so we could get dollar flannel. And now I didn't even use it. So
you just reminded me of something. My mother made all of us pajama pants every year.
Oh, yeah. I did that. Yep.
And they were hideous, but
mine are not hideous.
They were the most comfortable thing you can imagine. I still wear them.
So look, that was a family tradition of mine, and it's one of the things where every once in a while you have to reevaluate your traditions and say, do I really want to continue this? I stopped the year that I had to make 35 pairs of pajama pants. I had gone several nights in a row where I did not sleep because I was just sewing. Several of my kids wore pajama pants that were not hemmed. I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's enough.
Knowing that some of the clothes I have were made by my mother, who's deceased, I will keep them forever. You know what I mean? It's different if she'd bought them on Amazon. I might be more reluctant to keep them, but no, I'm hanging on to them.
So this is another texter who says, my family and I like to go for people watching. We'll sit and watch people go crazy for sales. Right. And, I think stores have tried a variety of different things too. So I have several kids who work in retail and a daughter who works like at a Nike store. They have Walmart and other stores, Target. They've tried things like, do we stay open all night? Do we like we're open on Thanksgiving Day and then do we just stay open all night and start our Black Friday sales like at midnight, or do we shut down for a few hours? I think people have tried that. So you can go to Walmart on Thanksgiving Day, at least down in my area, and you'll see the big pallets of Black Friday deals, and they're shrink wrapped, but it's like, this deal's not good till 5 a.m. or whatever. But you can walk through the store and see, and in theory, you could position yourself there and camp out overnight, so you can save yourself $50.
If they're open 24 hours.
Yeah, if they're open 24, otherwise you go back outside.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, it's trying to really try and figure out a mix between how do we support our workers. My daughter did not love working all night at Nike, and now they have a break, and so they're not open all night. I think that's correct. But the people watching is fun. Trying to get deals can be fun, but again, I think people are really burning out and saying, "Look, I can get them anytime, and I can do it online."
takes the fun out of it. You still got to go to the store, in my opinion.
I don't know. You can even get your groceries delivered to you if you want.
Not for me.
I have not done that. But look, property taxes, we've been talking about this, but they're climbing in Utah, and we're wondering if these increases could scare off new home buyers. Russell Fawcett from the Sturm team of Amada Real Estate is going to join us on this discussion after the break. We're coming up next, streaming live on KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
If you're getting new gutters, make absolutely sure that you don't get screwed. I mean literally, don't get screwed. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And every single gutter company out there uses screws to hold their gutters together at the corners and downspouts. They use screws because they're fast and cheap and easy, but man, they're terrible for your gutters, aside from possibly cutting your hand. They also loosen and corrode over time because they're not made from the same metal as the gutters. At RGS Exteriors, we've been installing gutters for 70 years now, and we don't use screws. We only use permanent, strong, and unobtrusive rivets. They're made from the same material as the gutters, so they won't oxidize and they won't corrode. They'll also never loosen. Your hand is safe too. Did I mention they look amazing? So don't get screwed. Call RGS and get riveted gutters. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsutah.com.
And we're joined again in studio with the Stern team's Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. Russell, when you talk to people who are considering buying or selling a home, especially in today's market, what's the biggest mistake you see people make?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, especially with buyers, is a lot of the time they worry about what's going on around them. So, is the market going to fall, or, what are the interest rates doing, or they try to time the market. And what I like to do is tell people is, let's look at your situation and buy based off of your goals and your needs. And if you can afford the home today and it moves kind of your goals and your life forward, let's look at that, because over time, the one thing I can guarantee is home prices are going to go up, and so will payments. And so I like to say, don't put your life on hold buying or selling, trying to time the market. Let's look at what your goals are, and when we can accomplish that, that's when we should make the move.
So we've talked about in a previous segment just about moving at the end of the year, and I would personally be totally overwhelmed thinking about moving during the holiday season. But what is your message to anybody who might be thinking about moving by the end of this year?
Yeah, the thing that I like about kind of the holiday moves and things like that are there is a little bit less competition, and most of the people, so whether they're buyers or sellers, they are serious. So the sellers that are willing to have their home on the market, they want it moved, and typically they want it moved before, let's say, Thanksgiving or Christmas, and so they can tend to be a little bit more motivated. But the same thing on the buyers, the people that are willing to move during this holiday season, they're serious buyers, and they're not, what I would call maybe tire kickers that are just out there browsing, right? And so it creates a little bit more urgency on both sides, and we see the actual success rate of those transactions actually go up during this time of year.
And what's the current status of interest rates? I don't mean the numbers, but in terms of where we've been for the last 2 or 3 years, they seemingly getting better.
Yeah, so you definitely, with a rate bite down or even excellent credit, depending on the programs, we are seeing definitely the low sixes, even the high fives. And then if you're looking at new constructions, there's a lot of incentives that you can get an interest rate in the fives, and we peaked at over 8%. And so if we're looking just at this 3-year snapshot, we are lower than what we were a couple of years ago.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, We're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Inside Sources.
We've been talking this morning about some steep property tax hikes proposed in a few Utah counties. Salt Lake County's Mayor Jenny Wilson is proposing a tax increase of almost 20%. And we also learned from Adam Small that Davis County leaders are looking to hike their property taxes by up to 30%. The Stern Team's Russell Fawcett, owner of Stern Team of Omada Real Estate, is with us. Russell, what's your take on the correlation between property tax increases and the people's willingness to buy and sell a home?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a part of it, right? Every time we're running calculations, we have to figure in what the property taxes are going to be. And this is one of those that, like, if you look at it overall, Utah actually is pretty low on property taxes. And then when I look at what, a lot of the property taxes, the majority is used for K through 12 education. It's one of those that we have seen inflation, and it is a little bit of part of home ownership that there are things that taxes are used for. And if we want those luxuries, we've got to figure out where that money's going to come from.
How much difference does it make to buyers? Let's say they're looking at a house and there's a neighborhood. Let's say, for example, it's in Draper and it borders Salt Lake and Utah County. Do buyers look and say, whoa, the tax rate in Utah is a little better than Salt Lake, or just the opposite? Or do you think that makes much of a difference?
They don't. It's one of those, people do ask the question of what are the property taxes like, but again, it's not a big enough number that it influences. I think the article, said that even with that 20% hike, it would change for the average house about $7, $8. And so when you're looking at, spending $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 on a mortgage payment, people aren't foregoing a property that they love because they might have to pay an extra $10 in property taxes.
Can you help break down for our listeners all of the potential taxes that go into like a whole real estate transaction? Is there more than one?
So all you have, and that's one of the things in our state, we don't have a transfer tax. And so the only taxes that you actually have is that yearly property tax that's paid once a year. And then, there is the income tax side. So if you make, a certain amount of money on the sale, then you do have some income tax that you'd have to work with a CPA to figure out what that would be. But we only have that, again, the one property tax for homeowners.
Russell, if you were talking to a buyer and they're reading or listening to our program today and learning about property tax increases at this county or that, and they're going to come up, what would you tell them in terms of, hey, this is just a fact of life, and don't let this dissuade your movement toward buying a home?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that conversation, depending on how, I guess the tone of the conversation, but really I'd be looking at, on average, there is inflation, your property taxes and your insurance, and honestly, the cost of insurance has went up drastically more than property taxes have. But it is one of those that, this is something that is the only part of your payment that could change over time, and it should probably pace right about with inflation.
Yeah, interesting. So if we're looking at Utah's market, you told us that homes are staying on the market about almost 2 months, right? Is that right?
Right. We're about 55 days.
And that's actually fairly normal.
Yeah, that's what we would call that average. Looking back historically, usually anywhere from 45 to 55 days is average historically. So again, in COVID, we were less than 2 weeks, and then But if we look all the way back to 2010, when we had kind of the opposite market, there were homes, I think the average days on market then was about 140 days. And so we're a long ways away from where we were kind of on that opposite pendulum swing of 2010.
Are there geographical differences around the state, Russell? And the reason I ask that is because in my area of the state, it seems like there have been a significant amount of homes on the market for a while. And I get these, I don't know why, I must have looked into homes once, but I get these updates. The house prices decrease, and it seems to be fairly common, even though you indicated earlier that home prices are continuing to increase. At least their listing prices seem to be decreasing, at least in our part of the state.
Yeah, so we are seeing price reductions with homes, and so I do think it is very, very neighborhood specific, and it's also price specific. So if you're looking at the first time home buyer, so anything really below our median price of about $500,000, if your home is priced well and move-in ready, there's still actually multiple offer in competition. Now you get into certain areas that maybe are, a little bit less affordable, $750,000 to $1 million. It could take a little bit longer for those homes, and then it depends on neighborhood. If you're next to new construction, so like Tooele County, there's a lot more construction going on, and so the existing home sales are impacted by the amount of new construction and the builder incentives that are out there.
Yeah, and if you're a buyer looking at a home, or you're advising a buyer, which is what you do, and you can see that a home's been on the market for, let's say, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and the prices continue to drop, does that mean anything other than maybe it was overpriced at the beginning, or to keep an eye on it?
That is the buyer sentiment of once you go over kind of that 2 months, the average, it's like, what's wrong with this home? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, there's not anything drastically wrong. But what we call it is chasing the market. So if you want to test the market and you're like, I'm going to price it higher, well, then what happens is nobody buys it. All of a sudden you become a stale listing. You start going down. But buyers can look and see how long it was on the market. And so now they're offering, even though you've now brought it back what maybe it would have sold for when you went on the market, you're chasing it. And so buyers are offering you lower. You might be saying no. Then you don't get it under contract and you lower again, and then the buyers offer lower, so you start chasing it. And so it is important to make sure you price correctly when you go on the market the first time.
I have maybe a random question. What could be the price differential between selling your home as a, quote, fixer-upper versus fixing all the things that could be fixed?
Yeah, so that really, really depends on what needs to be fixed. But if you look at most articles, there are very, very few things that you can do to actually get a one-to-one return. Meaning I'm going to go put $50,000 into the kitchen, and then I'm going to get $50,000 back. And so that's where, if there's things that are actually broken and need repaired, absolutely take care of those. Then you'd be surprised how much, some fresh paint and carpet, that goes a long ways. Once you get into the major remodels, unless you're going to remodel and flip your own home, it's very rare that you actually get a full one-to-one return.
Is paint and carpet something that you would recommend, however, if a home's in disrepair? Those sort of the basic things that are not going to cost you $50,000?
It is. So some of those very cosmetic things can make a big difference. Changing out light fixtures and things to kind of make the home feel newer. Those are things that we do see, homes sell better and sell for more money on some of the cosmetic repairs.
And what about this time of year when our lawns are starting to brown and our leaves are starting to fall? And how do you make the entry look great? How do you make your house look presentable from the street?
Yeah, I think the one nice thing is the neighbor's lawn is going to be brown as well. We did have record rain recently, and so actually all the lawns still look amazing.
They look pretty good.
They're green, but most of the time, still take care of the leaves, make sure bushes are trimmed back, and it still can present well, even though maybe the leaves are gone and it's a little brown.
Christmas lights. That's how you make it
Absolutely.
look good from the
Decorate
outside.
for the holidays.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you recommend people decorate their house as they normally would?
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't go overboard, but having some decorations, those are some things that you can do that make make a home look a little bit more, people can envision themselves living there.
And it still makes sense for people to buy a home in America and in Utah. I mean, it's still a good investment in your opinion.
Absolutely. Just the equity gain alone that someone would experience over 30 years, I'm always going to be a proponent for home ownership.
Yeah. Thank you. You can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting sternteam.com to find out more.
And we're going to talk about where Utah falls in the way it collects taxes compared to other states. We'll talk to an economics professor about that when we come back. Stay with us on KSL News Radio, and remember you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
I'm Claire. 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. SNAP benefits in Utah will be put on hold starting November 1st if the government shutdown continues. These benefits, also known as food stamps, are completely funded by the federal government and helps low-income families buy food. 86,000 Utahns rely on these benefits to feed themselves and others, and it's unclear whether the state will step in to support them in the meantime. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Construction continues this morning on the $250 million ballroom project at the White House.
The White House says the entirety of the East Wing will be, quote, modernized for the construction of the president's ballroom. But construction crews all week have been raising the East Wing. Bulldozers seen tearing down walls and the roof of the two-story structure. The president in July said the ballroom would not interfere with the current building. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is now urging the Trump administration to stop the demolition until the construction plans can go through a legally required public review process. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 202 points, the S&P is down 40 points. And coming up, overnight showers. KSL Weather's next KSL News Time, 11:01.
Reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
For 70 years, Les Olson IT has helped businesses succeed, and for the past decade, we've been your trusted managed service provider, delivering stability and innovation to protect what matters most. This October, during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, remember, your business needs protection on every front, physical and digital. From advanced cybersecurity to secure office technology, Les Olson IT has the tools to keep you safe. Call this month for a free network assessment, including a full cybersecurity risk evaluation.
Les Olson IT.
Amanda, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger, because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA weight loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And right now, this is the best way to do it. SOTA's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with SOTA weight loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
You need a deck. You want a pool. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 467014.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code POWER to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a crash up in Davis County. This is southbound I-15 right at the exit for the rest area in Kaysville. So it's after you pass 200 North, but before you get into Farmington, there's that rest area, and it is right at that exit ramp. Multiple vehicles involved in this one. It looks like a right lane and shoulder are blocked, and traffic is backed up to 200 North in Kaysville. It's going to take you a few extra minutes to get through there if you're heading toward downtown Salt Lake. Otherwise, you've got a smooth commute on the rest of I-15 in both directions. No problems going through Parley's Canyon now that an earlier crash is cleared, and a good commute around the Salt Lake Valley on the east and west side belt routes. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're looking at chances of a storm tonight and tomorrow morning. After that, we're in the clear along the Wasatch Front until a storm moves in Sunday, bringing temperatures down to the 50s. Right now, 52 and partly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We've been talking a bit about taxes, property taxes, and whatnot, and something has come up that I guess we don't think about too much, Holly, and that is how do we go about in this state collecting taxes, and how do we do that compared to other states?
Right, because we've had conversations with the Utah Taxpayers Association. Billy Hesterman, he talks about the three-legged stool. So you've got income tax, sales tax, property tax, and that in his opinion, they need to be balanced. But some states only do one, some states do all three. And I was really intrigued this morning by seeing a post by our next guest on X, used to be Twitter, talking about how other states actually tax their residents. So it's Michael Kofed, assistant professor of economics at Haslam College of Business at the University of Tennessee, who is joining us again to talk to us about how Utah kind of fits overall in the national picture of how we collect taxes.
Hi, Greg and Holly. Thanks for having me on again.
Such a pleasure. So give us first an idea about Utah and where we rank maybe on the three-legged stool, and then maybe talk about what some other states are doing.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad that you introduced the idea of the three-legged stool. When we teach maybe public finance to undergraduates and talk about state, local, county, that's a same analogy that we use: income, property, and sales tax. And Utah does actually a decent job at balancing across the three. So the Tax Foundation, which is kind of a center-right think tank that looks at taxes across the country, looks at both the three-legged stool, less corporate taxes, and ranks them by how fair they feel they are or how balanced they are. And Utah actually comes in 16th in the nation in tax burden per citizen.
So
all three of these tax. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
16th best.
That's right. 16th best.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yep. And all three of these taxes, when I talk to lawmakers and policymakers across different states, as an economist, we love to say that life is about costly trade-offs. And each one of these three taxes has a trade-off with it. So we generally like to blend the three so that kind of negates the trade-offs across them. Everyone hates property taxes because they feel like it's somehow unjust or emotional because it goes with their home. and the home is a very personal thing. But property taxes are interesting because they directly go to the services that you and I consume on a very daily basis. You can easily choose a property tax by moving into a jurisdiction that values like schools or parks. But the trade-off there is it's hard to buy a home with a high property tax, and the property tax also reduces your home value. Income taxes tend to tax higher income people, and lower income people pay a less of a burden. So that is a plus for the income tax, but it reduces work and reduces growth. And sales tax, no one likes to pay sales tax when they go to the store. It also, lower income people pay a higher percentage of their income to sales tax, but sales taxes tend to promote growth. So a blend of those three tends to be the secret sauce that Utah does a really good job at, actually.
So how do other states fund their government?
Yeah, so if you look across all the different states, they essentially kind of trade off on this. The state I live in is Tennessee. We have very low property taxes in Tennessee. We have no income tax in Tennessee, but we have a very high sales tax, upwards of almost 7.5%, 8%, depending on where you live. That promotes growth, but that means it's very hard to be poor in Tennessee because you're going to pay a lot more of your income. I used to live in New York when I taught as a civilian at West Point. There you pay high taxes every which way, and that kind of hurts the state's economy and makes it very difficult to own a home and very difficult to move your company to New York. Utahns like to complain about California. California has a high income tax, lowish property taxes, and a moderate sales tax, for example.
Interesting. What about Texas?
Yeah, Texas is an interesting one. So Texas has no income tax, a moderate sales tax, but a very high property tax.
Interesting. And that's a red state. Does that have anything to do with it at all?
You know, it's a whole lot of, with the exception that red states tend to like to put mostly on consumption taxes or sales taxes and less on the income tax, while blue states tend to like to do the income tax because it seems like it's more fair to lower income citizens and reduce maybe the sales tax, for example.
So in terms of your metrics, Michael, you indicated Utah was 16th best, which we're in the top third. But what are the top 10 states doing that we could be doing to move up the scale?
Yeah, so one thing that the top 10 states do are, like Tennessee ranks 8th, Texas number 1. They tend to have a very low income tax. And this is what a lot of economists like to say is that we should think about lowering the rate but increasing the base. And what that means is we should lower the amount of punishment that we give to workers for working and producing, but increase the number of people who have skin in the game that pay into their government.
So let me ask.
I tend to think that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. It's hard to do, right, when you can't see each other. Well, I'm interested. Okay. I'm interested in some of the I guess pushback that Utah gets, claiming that we're one of the worst states in the nation for taxes, but you're saying that we're not.
Yeah, no, I think one of the reasons why is Utah used to be, when it comes to property tax, Utah used to be a low cost of living. And over the last 10 years, it has rapidly become a mid to upper mid cost of living state. And what that means is that a lot of home prices have gone up, and so people are really feeling the pinch when it comes to their monthly mortgage. Utah has what's called a truth in taxation law, which means that revenues should be neutral with the exception of having these truth in taxation meetings and putting a vote out there on the city or county council. So that means traditionally as my home value goes up, the rate goes down and the revenue stays the same. The problem is that a lot of commercial real estate across the country has gone down in value as we have more remote work. And so thus the shift of property tax revenues are going away from commercial and towards property. And so counties are feeling the pinch and needing to make these drastic rebalancing to keep their revenues consistent.
Michael, you had talked about a concept that I would like you to explain a little bit, and you started talking about it, but lowering income tax but increasing the base. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so what we mean by that is that what we want to do, or traditionally what we want to do, is we want to have less of a tax rate because then that will encourage growth, labor supply, more people to want to work and increase their productivity, but increasing the base, meaning that we have more people paying into the tax fund and at a lower rate. Traditionally, this should encourage economic growth. The drawback would be is that more of our poor citizens have to pay a little bit more into the revenues.
So let me ask you, you may or may not have an opinion on this. What about sales tax on food?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. So we kind of have this sense of justice that we shouldn't have to pay tax on something that we need to have to survive, which is food. However, what becomes really hard when you consult with policymakers is define food for me. So is McDonald's food? So should we remove the sales tax on McDonald's food? The Utah State Legislature had a big debate last year about SNAP benefits on soda and sugary drinks. Are those considered food? So then what you have is you go to this grocery store that's trying to figure out which taxes on which items do I actually apply it to, and the execution of no sales tax on food becomes very difficult.
Yeah, thank you for that. We've been speaking with Michael Kofed, Assistant Professor of Economics at the University of Tennessee. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with Tammy Pfeiffer. She's the co-founder of the Dignity Index, and they just held their first leadership summit, really talking about ways to counter political violence, especially in speech. That will be right after the break. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and there's a good chance you've heard me talking about our free furnace sale. The one where you buy a new air conditioner and we give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. Well, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than the end of October. And once I think our schedule's full enough, I got to pull these ads. So don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. The main reason we do this sale is to give you an incentive to help us keep our guys busy when the weather's mild. And thanks to your help, we're able to keep our guys and keep growing. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, you owe it to yourself to at least schedule a free estimate and get all the details about our free furnace sale. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The new Inside Sources.
So we've talked a lot on our show about the Dignity Index. We've talked about reducing contempt in political speech, but also other speech as well. And just a couple of days ago, or this week, the Dignity Index held their first leadership summit here in Salt Lake. They had people coming in from out of state. They had a lot of Utahns. And we have with us on the line Tammy Pfeiffer. She's the co-founder of the Dignity Index. She's native to Utah, has been involved for a number of years. And Tammy, first of all, welcome to the show.
Hi, Holly. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And I wonder if you can just recap for us this leadership summit.
I am still walking on air just a little bit. We had such a great experience on Monday. We brought together people from 26 different states to Utah for our first ever summit, not knowing how it would go. But we had a keynote by Dr. Donna Hicks, who literally wrote the book on dignity. She wrote a book titled Dignity and another one, Leading with Dignity. Donna worked as a conflict resolution specialist all over the globe with Desmond Tutu in Northern Ireland, for example. And she worked to mediate conflict. And in her work for 25 years as a conflict resolution specialist, she found that the most powerful tool she had to bring people together was dignity, was treating people with dignity, was offering gestures of dignity to warring factions, for example, and helping people work through their trauma, work through their disagreements with dignity at the center and treating each other with dignity. So Donna spoke. We had 300 plus people in the room learning all the different aspects of dignity in leadership, dignity in our culture, dignity in politics, dignity in the workplace, dignity in higher education. Just a really tremendous experience.
Tammy, how are you getting the word out so well? And I mentioned that because I was at a debate the other day, and the host started the debate by citing from the Dignity Index. I mean, it's part of our lingo now.
Is this you, Greg? Because
yes.
This is music to my ears when you say that. We call ourselves a movement, and it really is to some degree a grassroots movement. And we're a very small team, but we are using, our social media platforms. We have connections with different elected officials. We were part of the Disagree Better initiative, along with a lot of other bridge building organizations. And our CEO and founder, Tim Shriver, also has a lot of connections to people that are so interested in what we're doing. And so we're getting the word out through those relationships, but also a lot through our social media platforms and through places like KSL Radio. Thank goodness.
So I saw an article on the Deseret News that talked about the summit, and I was surprised to see that there has been pushback on the Dignity Index by some people saying that it's trying to stifle speech. What's your response?
Yeah, and we've heard this, and I think that people do have those concerns, and I don't want to minimize those at all. It's kind of a natural inclination. Are you gonna score my speech? You're gonna tell me to stop saying these things that I feel very passionate about? We don't want people to give up their passion, and I'm not going to score you and tell you better not say that. That is stifling free speech. What we think stifles free speech is contempt. When I get canceled for something I say, or when I feel like I can't express my opinion, we feel that is not right. But if I'm using contempt all the time, I'm stifling other voices in the room. I love this point that my colleague Tom Roschert made, who is one of the co-creators of this with Tim and I. He said that free speech has nation-building powers, not just because of the individual statements, but because of those conversations that flow from these statements. And in our conversations, we raise issues that need to be problems that need to be solved. We offer solutions. We make plans. And in those conversations, if we're speaking with contempt, we inhibit responses. And when we inhibit responses, that kills a conversation. And that undermines our ability then to cooperate with each other. So we believe that contempt actually is what shuts down free speech. Dignity opens that up.
Tammy, what could you tell our listeners about how dignity and the Dignity Index can affect them just in their daily lives, with their social interactions, with their business interactions, with their church interactions?
Greg, the biggest learning that we had, the most important learning that we had coming out of our pilot project here in Utah, was that we think we're using the Dignity Index to score others. What we find is a way to put a mirror up to our own lives, our own language, our own mindsets that we use. And so when you learn the language of the scale, just a quick 8-point scale, when you start to see what contempt looks like, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to use that. We all want self-improvement. And so if people learn the language and look at the scale and they get into a conflict with a spouse, with their children, with a coworker, they can go to the Dignity Index and say, oh, what's a better way to say that? Because I don't want to shut down this conversation. I don't want to treat someone with contempt. And we had 40 faith participants yesterday that we didn't know were coming, specifically for information to bring back to their congregations. But we had to hold an impromptu breakout with 40 different people who wanted to bring the index back to their congregations so that they could start to solve some of the problems cropping up because of the outside influence of cultural and political dialogue, that they said, we want to bring this back to our congregation. So the average person, long answer to a short question, you can use that index to see what the language looks like and find other ways to dialogue with people when you're angry, hurt, when you're in conflict.
One of the things that I took away from Dr. Hicks's book, Dignity, that I read several years ago, was that you don't necessarily have to like the people that you're talking to, that comes, but you can still treat everyone with dignity. And as that grows, right, I think one of the things for me sometimes, if people say, well, if you're using the Dignity Index, so it's like the reverse, you're not shutting down somebody else's point of view, but maybe you're shutting down your own just for the sake of agreeing better. Do you want to address that as well?
Yeah. And again, Tim always says this so beautifully: bring your passion, bring your principles. Do not give up on your principles. That doesn't make for any kind of a healthy democracy. But if you think about it and find ways to communicate that in a different way without saying that someone else is less, that you are worth less than me because we disagree. And there's a way that we can do that even in the most difficult conversations or conflict, that we believe that opens up the opportunity to problem solve. I think you've probably heard this phrase, and we talk about it. It's easy to find common ground. It's hard to find higher ground sometimes. I'm going to talk about the things we agree on, and you've been in policy making, Holly. It's like, yeah, you believe this, I believe this too, let's work together. That's fairly easy. What's hard is to say, you believe this and I believe that. Let's talk about that disagreement so that maybe we're not going to find common ground, but we're going to find higher ground, an idea or a solution we've never thought of before because I've never fully understood where you're coming from.
Last question, Tammy. We've only got about a minute, but Holly and I each have a little placard on our desk with the Dignity Index. How can people find it?
You can find us at dignity.us. That's our website. Follow us on Instagram, on social media channels. We do quite a bit on Instagram. And we're happy to make sure that you get a copy of this card, put it on your fridge, on your desk. And we'd love to invite people to the movement. The movement got a huge boost on Monday. And again, I'm still floating on air a little bit, and appreciate all the opportunity we've had, to visit with you off and on, and Holly for your support. And Greg, thank you for the conversation.
You bet. That was Tammy Pfeiffer with the Dignity Index. And I would encourage anyone to find it, to look at it, to just review it periodically as we do. And it was really helpful for the people that were at this public event that I attended the other night, just to have that understanding going in. When we come back, we've learned this morning earlier, and Holly and I talked about the fact that Utah SNAP customers will not receive benefits in November, starting November 1st, due to the government shutdown. What about WIC in Utah? We'll check in on that after the break. And stay with us on KSL News Radio. Remember, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. We'll be right back.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. SNAP benefits will run out in 8 days in Utah if the government shutdown continues. KSL News Radio's Brandon Willis reports.
SNAP is completely funded by the federal government, and Utah's Department of Workforce Services says if the shutdown continues, they do not have the funds for November. Even if you have a balance from a previous month, those might not work.
They recommend calling 211 for information on food banks and other resources, or checking the website at 211utah.org. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Democrats are holding strong in the Senate. The goal is to extend health care tax credits that would prevent premium rates from skyrocketing. ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang says thousands of federal workers will miss a paycheck later this week.
Lawmakers, they are continuing to get their paychecks, but their staffers are not. They missed their first paycheck on Monday, and federal workers are set to miss a paycheck this Friday.
Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley has been speaking on the Senate floor since 4 p.m. yesterday as protests to the lack of funding for health care. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 367 points. The S&P is down 63 points. And coming up, cloudy skies today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized
authorized dealer.
Just around the corner, a weekend of fun for the whole family. Beatty Days 2025 in Beatty, Nevada. With a chili cook-off, car show, live music, parade, bed races, contests and games, vendors, and food. Enter a cornhole or horseshoe tournament. Or take a guided tour of the ghost town of Rhyolite. It all starts Friday, October 31st with a costume contest for all ages. Stake your claim for fun at Beatty Days 2025 in Beatty, Nevada. Visit BeattyNevada.org.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com. This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Ricky Meese.
The crash on southbound I-15 in Kaysville has been cleared. Traffic moving along once again with no problems. But we do have a disabled vehicle in traffic northbound I-215's west belt about California Avenue. It's to the right, only a lane. You're able to get around it without too much of a problem, and the delays it was causing have now cleared. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cyprus Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypruscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 63 today. Clouds move in tonight, and there's a chance we'll see a few showers pop up tonight and tomorrow morning. After that, highs remain in the mid-60s until Sunday when a storm moves in. Right now, 52 and partly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We learned this morning, and we were able to break the news that Utah SNAP customers will not receive benefits in November due to the government shutdown. Earlier in the show, Becky Wickstrom, Department of Workforce Services Public Information Officer, spoke to us about this.
SNAP is 100% federally funded, and because of the shutdown, we learned that there will be no SNAP payments in the month of November. Another possibility that we're learning is that if the shutdown's not resolved by November 1st, all SNAP services may be interrupted. So that means even if you have a balance on your card from a prior month, your card may not work after November 1st. We want customers to know that this is a possibility, to know what to expect so that they can make additional arrangements to help feed their family.
So I think a related question is, what about WIC, which is Women, Infants, and Children, that program? And we have on the line with us Jodelle Geilman Park, who is the Utah WIC vendor PIO. And I wonder, first of all, Jodelle, thanks for joining us. I wonder if you could help explain what's the difference between WIC and SNAP.
Good morning. Yes, for sure. So both are nutrition assistance programs. However, WIC is founded in serving women, infants, and children who have specific nutritional risks. And one of the benefits in participating in the WIC program is that women, infants, and children get to meet with registered dietitians who do an overall assessment of their health, identify nutrition risks, and prescribe very specific food packages to meet those nutrition risks. We're looking at foods that are high in iron in vitamins A, D, and C. We're looking in foods that have high protein in order to get the best possible outcomes for pregnant and breastfeeding moms and growing young children.
So,
that provides a broader grocery aspect.
So, Jodelle, earlier in the show, we learned that SNAP benefits are cut back, and they are 100% funded by the federal government. and that's the result of the government shutdown. It may pick up again if they do something before November 1st, but those benefits will be cut off. What can you tell us about WIC?
So I can tell you that WIC is also 100% federally funded. However, our operations and shopping have not yet been interrupted and will continue to be available into the month of November. We are lucky to have received some contingency funding through the Food and Nutrition Service, FNS, and then also President Trump earlier in the month of October allocated Section 32 tariff revenue to come into the WIC program that is buoying us up through the month of October.
Interesting. So if you have clients on WIC, is there anything that they should be prepared for or preparing for, or should they just consider that it's going to be the same as it's been?
As of right now, we are operating business as usual. So we're hoping that our WIC families are in the grocery stores and redeeming their benefits just like they usually do.
Jodelle, for our listeners who aren't necessarily familiar with WIC, what are the parameters, how people become involved or become eligible for WIC benefits?
That's a really good question. So primarily we target pregnant, breastfeeding, or postpartum women. Those are the women who are eligible. And then infants and children up to the age of 5 who meet income guidelines and also have some kind of identified nutrition risk. Those are our qualifying factors for the WIC program.
But are they referred through healthcare providers or do they self-refer? How does that work?
We have a mix of a lot of different options there. So healthcare providers do tend to refer WIC families. And then we also receive participants through a lot of word of mouth. Also, our nonprofit organizations in the community will often refer people who are seeking for food or nutrition assistance to the WIC program. And then several are just self-referred. They've heard about it through the grapevine, through media stories, or through other resources, and they've heard that WIC helps support women during their pregnancy and yields really good pregnancy outcomes. And so they come looking to us for nutrition counseling, nutrition education, breastfeeding support, and then the great healthy grocery options that WIC provides to get them through their pregnancy.
And I'll admit I'm naive, but what do WIC benefits look like? I mean, can it be sort of offset for medical bills? Do you get some products other than just money in terms of like diapers or assistance or anything like that? Or is it strictly financial benefits?
So it's primarily financial benefits. So we do offer a food package, but it isn't just a flat dollar amount like the SNAP benefit allocation is. So the food packages are tailored to nutrition risk assessments. And so, for example, a pregnant mother has different nutrition needs than a mother who is postpartum. A pregnant mother who has multiple fetuses, twins or triplets, has different nutritional needs than a mother who is pregnant with only one child. So we're looking at all of those nutrition risk factors and making determinations for the food packages based on those nutrition risks. So different foods are allocated based on the nutrition risk assessment. And then families go to the grocery store, they can choose the foods that WIC authorizes that we know for sure meet those high nutrition standards, and they can make purchases with their WIC cards at the grocery stores.
And Jodelle, just to clarify, this is income-based, is it not?
Yes, it is. We do sit a little bit higher than SNAP and Medicaid, so people can make more money and still qualify for the WIC program. We tell everybody if you're on SNAP or Medicaid, come on over, you're adjunctively available. But if you have been denied SNAP or Medicaid resources, come check in with us to see if you still qualify for WIC because our income threshold is a little bit higher.
And if the government shutdown continues for very long, when could it start affecting benefits that people may be expecting in the future?
That is the million-dollar question. We know that some state agencies and territorial and tribal agencies have already been impacted across the state. They've begun furloughing staff, which could eventually disrupt clinic operations and then those benefit redemptions. For Utah, we are projected out a good couple of weeks into November with funds on hand. And we are just hoping that our congressional leaders can find a bipartisan solution to give us a full budget going into fiscal year 26.
Yeah, I think you pretty much answered this next question, but do you think that there might be a side effect of the shutdown where you're seeing more people applying for WIC?
That is definitely possible, and one of the items of conversation that we have addressed in the last several weeks as we've looked at our funding forecast going forward. But for now, our clinics are open, it's business as usual, and we're serving as many people as we possibly can.
Thank you. That was Jodelle Geilman Park, a Utah WIC vendor, public information officer, and it's far-reaching. I do want to just play one other thing. We spoke with Becky Wickstrom earlier from the Department of Workforce Services about just what customers can do if they're concerned about their SNAP benefits.
I mean, we're fortunate to live in an area where there are community resources available. Customers can hopefully tap into those. You can call 211 or go to 211utah.org and find local food pantries, meal sites, and other resources. So we're hoping that by knowing this information, customers can make arrangements and, have some other resources to rely on in November.
Yeah. So speaking of food, Thanksgiving, whether you like it or not, is getting closer. And we have seen lots of impacts, right? The government shutdown and other things. There are likely a number of families facing uncertainty, trying to prepare meals, including the big Thanksgiving dinner. Well, Walmart now says you can feed 10 people for just $4 a person if you use its Thanksgiving meal basket, which is a grocery shopping cart, right? That seems really low to me, but we'll talk about that when we come back after the break.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. With more than 30,000 homes built, Ivory Homes has been Utah's leading home builder for over 3 decades, consistently delivering quality townhomes, move-up homes, and luxury residences that meet the needs of every homeowner. CEO Clark Ivory joins us with more.
Almost everywhere I go, people ask, how will my kids or grandkids ever afford a home? It's a real concern. Utah now has the 9th highest median home price in the nation. We've been discovered. Companies want to do business here. Job creation and income growth are strong, and housing demand will continue to rise. We need solutions now. First, cities must embrace sustainable growth and support the governor's call for 35,000 starter homes. Second, builders like Ivory Homes must aggressively buy down interest rates to help buyers qualify. We are doing just that, with rates in the 5s, 4s, and even as low as 3.49%. Finally, parents and grandparents who can need to help the next generation with down payments. Utah will continue to prosper, but the time to act is now, so our children and grandchildren aren't left behind.
Ivory Homes is shaping Utah communities by creating quality homes and vibrant neighborhoods that support families, foster connection, and meet diverse housing needs. To learn more about their developments and mission, visit ivoryhomes.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
Well, since my co-host has been talking about Christmas since July, I guess I already know the answer to this question. But Holly, is it too soon to start talking about Thanksgiving?
No, it's not.
Is it too soon to hear the Thanksgiving song?
Love to eat turkey, 'cause it's good. Love to eat turkey like a good boy should, 'cause it's turkey.
That's Adam Sandler with the Thanksgiving song. Apparently,
He'll be in Utah on
he's coming
Sunday
to
at the Delta
Center on Sunday. That's one worth attending.
Oh, look, so it's not too soon. And actually, I have already started to plan Thanksgiving dinner, at least by telling my kids I expect them to help this year.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
I have 2 kids who volunteered for dishes, but it is, I would say for our family, it is the most expensive meal of the year. But Walmart has now said, look, it can make its annual Thanksgiving meal basket, which is, you're talking about a grocery cart, for $40 to serve 10 people. I am interested, if our listeners, just what do you do to make your Thanksgiving dinner affordable? And we won't have very many minutes this segment. It's the last one of our show. But if you have great tips on how to make it affordable, besides having somebody else bring the food, let me know.
I think you told me before we started the show, Holly, that's a reduction from what Walmart's meal package has been in the past.
Yeah.
Like $4 a person, $40 for 10 people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's an incredible deal.
Yeah, I think it is. So we can tell you what's in the meal basket. There's a butterball turkey that's 13.5 pounds. So I don't know what size you buy, but I buy 2 25-pound turkeys. So that might be one of the
13
issues.
is about right.
So it's 97 cents a pound, which is the lowest price since 2019. There's a little can of the fried onions to go on top of green bean casserole. So, of course, you've got the
Yum.
Campbell's soup, and you've got 3 cans of green beans so that you can make that.
Turkey stuffing, my favorite thing.
In a
twin
box.
pack. Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
get that.
in a
I
box.
don't care how it comes.
And then you buy the dinner rolls, 5 pounds of potatoes. I do 20.
This list goes forever. I mean, this is
Well-
quite an cranberries, carrots, corn, green beans, macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese.
in a box.
Okay.
Yeah. A brown gravy mix, and then pie crust, evaporated milk, and pumpkin, so that you can make your
Put it
own
in the
pumpkin
pie.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that's a really good deal. It's not necessarily how I cook, but that's really not a bad price.
And I can't imagine Walmart's making a penny off of this. I mean,
They're loss leaders. I don't know.
Absolutely. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so I think there are ways where you can save on Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not sure I've found them, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there are ways. We always cook. We have to cook. We usually have 30 plus people over for Thanksgiving dinner. So we cook one 25-pound turkey to feed people at the Thanksgiving meal, and then we have to cook a second turkey so we have leftovers, because my family loves.
Oh, you eat the whole thing.
Yeah, we
For
eat
dinner.
one whole thing for dinner, but we have to cook a second one
The
for
second
leftovers.
turkey is leftover. That's
we
classic.
love turkey
That's
sandwiches,
classic.
and we do turkey crepes, and there's like the one year that I only did one and there were no leftovers, everybody like rebelled, and I had to go get another turkey and cook it just to eat leftovers.
Well, I called my son last night and said, we're coming over for Thanksgiving. He lives in Napa. He said, well, Dad, we're rebuilding our kitchen. I said, well, you got a month to get it
Microwave.
finished. Yeah, you got to get it done.
I have a Thanksgiving horror story. I had my aunt coming over, and we had the turkey in the oven, and it just would not finish cooking. It took forever. I think we ate dinner at like 9 o'clock that night, but that was how we found out that our bottom coil had gone out and was not heating the oven from the bottom at all.
Turkey
That was not fun.
It's going to be a week in the making.
Yeah, that was not fun. We use my husband uses a smoker, and we cook the turkey outside in the smoker, and it cooks for like, I don't know, 12 or 14 hours. It is so tender and so good. We really, really love it. No, I haven't tried to deep fry it, and partly because I'm afraid I will hurt somebody or somebody will get hurt
Burn
because
down
of
your
that
house.
burning oil. Yeah.
We tried it, and it was amazing. But it is a production. It is a major production.
Yeah. Look, so I have some other stories that I wanted to talk about today. So there are a couple of political stories that are interesting. So Wayne Niederhauser is going to step down as the Utah homeless coordinator on December 5th. So that was announced yesterday. He's going to retire.
And he was a former legislator, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Yep, he was a former legislator.
I think he was our first homeless czar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think he's been there 5 years, which is longer than I thought. I was surprised it was that long.
Done a very good job.
He has
a great job getting the word out on that.
In fact, I saw a tweet. I keep calling them tweets. I think they're posts now that it's X, but praising him from somebody in the sector that works with that type of population, saying they were a little bit worried when he stepped in, but he has really taken the time to learn the issue and propose big solutions and things. So good for him.
Yeah, tough
good for
shoes
him.
to fill too.
Yeah,
for the governor.
And then the other one that I thought was really interesting is Senator Dan Thatcher, who was a Republican. The end of last session, he changed his party affiliation to the Forward Party, and he is going to be resigning from the legislature. And I didn't catch a date on when he's resigning, but it will be before the next legislative session, and then his district will go through a whole process to elect a new state senator, but from the Forward Party.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Yeah.
So it's an election or an appointment from the party?
No, it'll be an election, and that's one of the things that makes this a little different. And then I have another story, and this one is again on Twitter. You can tell I like Twitter. I'm still on X. So this one is from the founder of the CEO of Crumble Cookies. So we talked about that earlier this week because of the BYU win over the University of Utah, and everybody stormed the field, and so there was an expected fine of $50,000.
$50,000
yeah,
fine for storming the field. And
I
think you indicated that the Crumble exec.
Yeah, he said he would pay it.
Right.
And he said it like that day. He said, I'll just pay the fine. Just let them have their fun. Well, today he has an update, and this is what he said on Twitter. He said, BYU fine update. No fine for BYU storming the field. So here's the play. Instead of a fine, that money is going straight to our players through an NIL, which is name, issue, likeness, the way they're now being able to pay college athletes. And then he adds this: because of your overwhelming support and inspired by Kalani's love for his opponents, every bit of student lunch debt in the Provo City and Salt Lake City school districts for all schools was wiped out this morning. Love you, Cougar Nation. That's amazing. I thought that was really awesome.
That's a significant contribution. I mean, he's already paying $50,000 for the name,
And that'll go
image and
into the
likeness,
students'
and
accounts.
then he's wiping out.
Yeah. Student debt in Provo City School District and Salt Lake City School District, all the schools.
That's
student lunch debt.
That's huge. Well, that's wonderful news. I mean, that's in light of everything we've been talking about today. These are some very good stories.
Those are some good stories. Look, we did have one texter, Bob. Thanks, Bob. He says, I have an indoor turkey fryer right on the kitchen counter. That sounds frightening to me.
Yeah.
But also, it can really be fun to find different ways to cook turkey. And we, in our family, we found a recipe for yams. So when I grew up, it was the yam casserole that had little mini marshmallows on the top. I didn't love it. My family didn't love it, but we found a way to do a yam souffle with like a pecan coconut topping. We like that better, but I still have kids that are like, yeah, no thanks.
Sounds like your Thanksgivings are fairly traditional in terms of
They're
fare,
fairly
and,
traditional in terms of
that's
food.
How I always look forward to them.
And
being.
so much food.
Yeah.
I cook. That's a day my husband and I both like. We cook for 8 hours. You eat for 30 minutes, and then you do dishes for another 8 hours.
Well, we're short on time, but do you have any fun facts of the day?
I do have a fun fact of the day. So today is, what is today? It is National Make a Dog's Day. So make your dog happy today. I think that's what that means. But on this day, this was really interesting to me. On this day in it was 1965. No, wait, sorry, my bad. 1928. So Herbert Hoover, who was president at the time, he gave a speech about the American system of rugged individualism. And one of the things he said in the middle of that speech was to me, the foundation of American life rests upon the home and the family. So all about individual and yet still focused on the family. So that was interesting.
Good for him, yeah. And, you never forget that song from All in the Family. Mr. We Could Use a Man Like Herbert Hoover again.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it for Inside Sources today. Coming up on midday with Maria Chaleos, continued coverage of the 86,000 Utah households at risk of losing SNAP benefits on November 1st if the government shutdown drags on. What it means for families and what help may be available. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.
Spirit Health Studios. This is KSL